We'll come back at
The
the end.
Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hello
There
and
we
a warm
are.
welcome to the M365 Con. Today here with me, Femke, Cornelissen. Warm welcome to you. The topic or the keynote of today is the Agentic Decade, how we redefine work, skills, and leadership. The stage is yours, Femke. You can start.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Let's go. So, yes, first of all, I want to say thank you for doing this, Mirko and Marcel, because this is big. It's really big what you both are doing, because like so many sessions and so many people who are involved. So thank you for doing that. I'm really, really enjoying all the knowledge that is being shared to all the speakers. But it's a big thing that you both doing. So thank you for sharing all the knowledge. And yeah, happy to be here today. And I just want to talk about not only AI and all the things that is new, because I think we have a lot of conversations around what is new in the market, what is new around Copilot, what is new in AI in particular, all the things that happens every day. So a lot of new things coming out every day, and I think it's really hard for a lot of us to keep up. And I think that's something that we really need to understand, that is something that is not going away anymore. And one of the things that we're going to see there is that we need to think about how do we redefine work skills and leadership around this, because I think intelligence becomes part of the system itself. So I want to bring you like a story about a shift that I am seeing, and not that it's coming. I really want to say it's already there in every organization. So I think everyone who's listening today is working with AI and is already in this shift, but I think not everyone recognizes it already. So let's start. First of all, a little bit of an introduction of myself. I'm in the middle of, I think, technology, leadership, and community, all the things I'm really enjoying a lot. Femke Cornelissen, Chief Copilot or Agentic Work at Wortell. I work like every day with organizations that are trying to figure out how, not only how to use AI, but as well, how can we lead with AI and what are the best choices that we need to make for our organization. And I spent a lot of time in boardrooms, but as well in teams, but as well in global community and tech communities. And what I really like doing is translating what I see happening in the world around AI and what it's even more, what it's really be for people at work. So the human side of it. I'm really enjoying to feel what is happening for the person in organizations and what is going to change for me, what is changing my life with working with AI. So what I'm going to share is something that I see in the field. It's not something that I probably find from other people, but actually what I think what it is. So from conversations that I have with other people, with some leaders, with professionals, but as well with teams that I'm working with. And a lot of them, I think we don't have any name for it. So I called it the Agentic Decades. But before we going to everything that I'm seeing, what's happening, I want to look back, because I think it's always good to look back. Where are we started? And that is Alan Turner. Alan Turner in 1950, he asked, can machines really think? He was the first person who actually had an idea. Is it possible that machines can think? Now, today we're living inside that answer that he gives us, like so many years ago, and a lot of things happened since that time. It's not like it's a question that is real different now, I think. It's not what machines can do, but it's more about, okay, what work, what can we use, and I think intelligence becomes something that we even more and more need to collaborate with. And this was like the first question this person made, and he built like a team around him to think about it. And it's time to travel a little bit back from that moment, 1950. And I enjoying seeing all the things, how this happened, beginning. So AI, it was an idea, a question of someone who was thinking about, like, can machines really think? Or can it do something by themselves? So we had the machine. It was like really powerful. And then we still need to think about, okay, how do this belongs in our daily work? We see it from Clippy, of course. The intelligence showed up there in our documents. That was a little bit awkward as well, I think, the first time that we had that Clippy coming up. But it was really nice to see that it's something that's going to work with us. What we also saw was voice that's coming in, like Siri, Cortana, Alexa. So we stopped with typing, not really stopped, we're still typing, but we're doing more with our voice and starting more talking. So we don't even give it all the comments anymore. We had it more like a conversation style. We did it with typing, but as well with our voice, bring it in. And I think now when we are with the agents, with copilots, there is absolutely something new happening. And it's, of course, as well, the voice, but as well has a new role in it. And I think it's being a part of, like, being a helper on one side, on the other side is going to work itself. And it's a big shift. When technology became like someone who's going to work with you, so that the technology is going to work with you as a team or you as a person, then it's not only a tool anymore, it's a really big change. So it's not longer what can this system do for me, but it becomes more what kind of work do I design now that intelligence is part of your workday and of your team. So it's a big shift, and yes, I still believe Clippy walked so Copilot can actually fly. And that's a fun one, I think, because there it really started with Copilot as well. The fun joke, Clippy is the father of Copilot. Yeah, of course, we see the AI winter in the deep blue beats. There was a lot of investment needed, and as well, the AI winter where it was, the idea was stopped. And now on, we see that, we can think about it anymore. And I think it's fun to realize how far we already have come with the idea that started in 1950. So I don't think that this is like a next version of talking about productivity. I think this is not a way of work that we are in. So most of our jobs where we build around like information, finding information, moving it, sending it to someone, checking in, also finding out if it's really good what we made. So we as a person, we as a human, we became very good in keeping work in motion. So we understand that we need to send an email to another person. We need to understand, we find that information. And I think that's the big thing that we're going to see changing in like the upcoming years, or already now. So when intelligence becomes part in our system, it stops being moving from like only information. It also helps to get the outcome. So we move from repeating, reasoning, to not only following steps, but also understand why those steps exist. Why are we doing this? But also moving from task to even more outcomes. So we really need to think about what are the new outcomes that we want to have, and what are the steps that we did now? Are that still the steps that we need to do? And now I'm talking about a little bit about like email or a task that we doing by ourselves, but this is bigger. It's bigger from you as a person, it's bigger from you as a team, it's bigger from thinking about it from you as an organization. And it's not, do I do the work, but do I still do create some value there with bringing the intelligence in it? So we move, I think, from automation to more orchestration. And not only a tool is doing it, but many different kind of agents are going to work together in the organization. So where we have the human and the agents. And I think that's the bigger shift that we're going to see already. And it's already there. I think it's not only about individual productivity, but it's more to get collective like intelligence and bring that all together. So it's not longer about how fast only one person can work with a tool. It's about how well the whole system can think. So you need to think about the whole system. How can we learn? How can we adapt? How can we keep on track? Is this really the outcome that we really want to have? And I think in this world where things are going super fast, it's really important to make your choice in what kind of system you're going to work. So understand what is the systems and what are the choices that we have there. And as well, I think humans still lead. And that's a really big one, because we can say, okay, the intelligence is coming there, but we as a human, we really need to understand what the outcomes are and what we really want to achieve. I think the agent is going to operate, and the system probably going to learn as well. So going to learn from the mistakes. And when you have like the three things, the human will lead, the agents will operate, and systems we're going to learn, are there three things that are really going to be designed really well. So work stops feeling like, everything comes more like better together, and feel like that you're actually going to shape what you really want to do with your outcomes and where you want to go. Interesting, right? Then I also want to talk about the frontier firm, because this is like a thing that we hear a lot in the market. And I think it's actually really interesting for leadership teams as well, because the frontier firm is like, it's not talking about having the newest technology, but it's it's something that we need to understand, that we need to think about. How can we redesign how we really work in our organization? And I know it's not easy to think about how can we redesign our organization, but most companies adopting AI all the way before, like on every tool before they think about redesigning. So they're going to start with AI tools without thinking about the bigger picture in what's going to change on their work. So they add on top what they already exist. And I think the frontier firm is something different. It's thinking about how to redesign this. So how can we redesign the system itself? So first of all, what you see is the human with the assistants. So this is where the organization is really going to start. We see that like the last 2 years, right? That we have a Copilot, or we have, I can say it's ChatGPT or Cloud or an AI tool, and it helps us with our workflows or with our processes, or it helps us with our communication, planning, that kind of like summarize, analyze, that kind of things. Then we have human and led agents. So the humans with the agents, we're going to work together and think about your onboarding process or reporting or compliance or your customer journeys or things that you have, like your teams and the agents will work together. And I think the third one is the human-led agents, and that is something where the system is going to run. So it's going to run across more functions, and it adapts in real time. And human steps in where judgments and ethics will be really be there. And it's really important to have humans in there still always. That matters most. But it's like I think that's the key point. That's not like only a technology roadmap anymore, but it's something that you really need to think about the system and what you want to, how do you want to operate as an organization in combination from human and agents. And one thing I really want to make it clear here, because I'm going to talk a little bit about leadership as well, but this is something that is, in my opinion, really a leadership choice, because every step means that something that you give authority, you give intelligence, and you give people like responsibility to keep it as well human. And I think that's something that we really need to think about. How can we, as a frontier firm, how can we not only win because we really move faster, but win because we really can move in a different kind of way? And I don't want to say we need to win, but I feel in the market that a lot of people just want to be the first or want to be in front of. And the frontier firm is, in my opinion, the organizations will really think about to do it different and really rethink how they want to operate. So check out the frontier firm. There is a lot of information online, especially from Microsoft, who are using this frontier firm a lot. So I want to make a step forward in the time that we are in right now, and what is coming probably. And when we talk about the upcoming years, it's not something that like having a lot of trends and lists and that kind of things. I think it's predictions that we see here. It's something that will happen happen to organization. So things that we're going to see more is that they will design themselves in that. So the first shift that we're going to see is the multi-agent ecosystems. So, and that's what I think that we're going to see. So I need to say that is something that I think is coming. But for example, it's like your HR agent will talk with your finance agent. So you get that even more together. Now we still figure out how we can do that, but it's all going to work together. So your HR agent, your finance agent, and then, for example, your project agent will coordinate your operations agent. And this feels like far, far away, but I think this is something that is really need to think about. Okay, what is the system that we're going to use, and how are we really want to operate in the upcoming years? The second is optimizing workflows. So processes that don't just run, but also going to learn. So they have different kind of cycles, make the next one even better, and give you an update about how they are going to do that. And the third one is like decision making, but then make it more transparent. The agents won't just give you the answers, but also show why. And I think we're already seeing that in a lot of things. But why are they choosing this? And why are now? Why are we using this data? And what can we trust really that is in these organizations? And I still think we as a human really need to understand what this kind of changes are and what it's giving us, and we are responsible for the outcomes. But we're also going to see that it's going to give us more answers in why are we getting this back from AI. And the final, I think this is probably the biggest. I think leaders will not just manage people only for their performance from leadership, but I think humans and intelligence need to make better decisions together. So I think it's like more about future as more like responsibility. And what is your responsibility and how can we measure that? So not only from a human part, but as well the responsibility that you have in your role, or the responsibility that you have from the intelligence part. What is the next step and what will come? It's like every organization, I think, need to think about who are we as an organization, and what is the thing that we really want to be, and where do we want to invest? Is it our problems that we have in the organization, or are we going to redesign? Where do we actually go to start? And it's looking back where it all started, but as well, I think, what are the next things that are coming, and how can we prepare ourselves for all of this? And leadership needs to be involved on this. Because like when intelligence really start to operate in your system, I think leadership cannot stay where it was. So for a long time, leadership means setting like a direction, checking all the progress, getting updated from people in your team, following a plan. And that makes sense in the world like where humans are mostly thinking. But I think when the system is going to think as well, we need to rethink how we really going to have our decisions going to make. So in an agentic world, I think leaders don't just manage people, they go to design like the environment where decisions can happen. So they going to manage the agents, and they go not only leadership as well, managing agents in general, people will go to work with agents. So context becomes even more and more powerful than the comments that you wanna have. So design becomes important, and I think leaders who are really decide what agents are and understand what are the next steps are the one that really going to decide in what stays human in our organization, and what are the things that we can work together between people and the systems. So I think it's like the Agentic Decade is something that leadership isn't about being like the smartest person or building all kind of new stuff and be the smartest person in the depths. room, I would say, but it's building like the smartest room. So need the smartest person, but be the smartest room. And I think I really like that idea that you redesign how you really want to work and how you want to operate and where AI get involved. So a lot to think about. And as well, that will give us a different kind of way in how we're doing this, and to become and still become and stay relevant. Because like in the Agentic Workplace, we will see that we have a lot of people who are not the fastest or not really understand how agents will work or how they need to build it. But the ones who see like the whole system and understand just not a small thing, but understand the bigger picture, I think they are the one becoming more and more important. So the ones who are having system thinking and understands how they need to operate, and not only the task. So I still need to do this, but system thinking is, I think, the one that is getting more and more important if you can understand that. As well, like judgment becomes really important. Understanding what's happening. Ethics, of course, is really important. But I think curiosity is something really powerful. We need to understand what is happening, what we can build, what we can use, why are we doing this, finding out. So intelligence is everywhere, but what people stand for is what sets them apart. And I think this is a few things that is really important in like the human upgrade that we're going to see. We need to learn that is not adding on, but thinking in the bigger picture, in what is changing and how we can operate the organization. And I think there are some skills there that we see that developing even more. And I think we can talk about it like hours only on this kind of topics, but we need to learn, like what we see a lot of, that we learn the new tool, what is new, get certified in a platform. But I think in the agentic world, it's not talking about operational stuff. It's become more that we understand more the architect of it. So I think the new skill is not only training, but it's also knowing what is the organization design, or what are the first layer of this kind of skills, the cognitive skills that we are talking about. So I think this is how people will think, not what they already know. So yeah, it's interesting to think about what are we actually solving, and understand what we are solving. What is the thing that we need to achieve with each other, and as well to also not make it too complex, but make it really simple and understandable for everyone. And as well, the decisions that comes out, the different kind of data points you put in. That's also really interesting to understand. And the skills that we need to understand even more what are we really seeing here, and how can we tell this to different kind of people? So the social skills, the system skills, and the design thinkers, I think that's all the things that is really interesting in what we need to think about. So when we talk about social skills, it's about it lives between the people, the trust. We need to really trust what we build, and we need to influence with that and let people work on it. Make it safety for humans, that they are really that the agents can be challenged, that they can make it better and improved. And I think the system thinking is something that we actually talking about, the things where are we making decisions, And what if it's not going to work? Where are we putting this intelligence, and where we don't want to have this intelligence? Because that is also something that you need to think about and need to make decisions around this. So as well, the design thinkers, and I think the frontier organization that are the design thinkers that we need to have. And a lot of things I really want to put in is community or culture. And I think when I start with culture around this is that we talk about agents, we talk about systems, we talk about leadership, we talk about models, and we talk about strategy. It's something that we hear a lot. And yes, it's all super important. But I think culture is one of the things that is the place that you have in your organization, and you need to change your culture, and that everyone, or not change your culture, but you need to have a culture that can be adapt all of this. You can design all the best workflows in the world, but if people are afraid to experiment, then we will see that nothing really going to change. And you can deploy really good agents, but if people don't trust them, no one really want to use it or get something from it that they really believe. So I think that the culture is something that leaders need to work on to embrace as well, the Agentic Workplace. And I think the culture will shift from asking for permissions to be more encouraged to as well explore. And that's something that is exploring, finding out if this is working. It's something that we really need to embrace as organization, because things are going so fast, is that we really need to have that. So from being comfortable with learning in public, you will see that we going more and more in keep learning and keep learning while we're doing it as well, and finding out if it's working. And yes, in our system as well, because things are going so fast that we need to check out if this is the right way, because the next thing is already coming up. And I think at the end of the day, AI will transformate a lot of organization, but the people are really the one who doing it. And if you can get them in an experimental way that they are doing this, of course, with the right guardrails and the right way, but the culture, if getting there, that this is the next step, that people understand that we need to work together with the agents, is something that a lot of people really need to understand and need to think about. And I talk a little bit around community, because I think this is one of the biggest things that, and as well we are today with the community and sharing knowledge, but I said it a few times, things going so fast and we really can understand what's new, and everyone needs to learn. And I need to learn every day. I cannot keep up. And I think a lot of people, even inside of Microsoft, cannot keep up by themselves. So community becomes something that is also, I think, really strategy part of need to be for your organization, because the knowledge that you get there and learning from people who are already doing, and not only hearing it in the field from for example, Microsoft itself, but as well people who are building in their organization or giving advice as a consultant. I think that's really interesting to make next steps, different kind of perspective, challenges, and blind spots that you're seeing there. And it gives you new ways of working, just not only the tools, what's new in a tool, but I think it gives you opportunity to see more in how others are really moving. And when you learn together, I think it's everything goes faster and everything goes smaller as well. So if you take one idea from today, don't keep it to yourself. I think share. It's really important to share, test, and talk about it with someone who doesn't think like you. I think every perspective is interesting to share. And I think in an agentic world, intelligence may scale through systems, but I think like it's still, but progress, I think still scales through people. So it's really interesting to look to some communities around you and share as well your perspective so other people can learn from you, because we all need this. So thank you as well for having this today. The other thing that I want to add on is optimize yesterday and design tomorrow. And I think at this point, every organization has to make a choice. Some will use like AI if it's do the same things, but just faster than they already do. Getting like better reports, or we want to have quicker responses, or we want to be more efficient in the progress. And I think, yes, that's really matters. It really matters. And we all need to do that as well. But others will use AI to ask like different kind of questions. Why do we work with like this way at all? Why are we doing this? Why are we still doing this? So I think it's interesting to think about, why do we work in this kind of way that we work now? And do we still need to work in this kind of way? And when you say like, you have like one thing that you say, okay, this is what we want to optimize, then you can work with each other and can finding out, is this where we want to start? So where do you want to, what do we want to redesign? What is possible? And I think that is not only talking about technology, and a lot of us talking about technology way. This is what can happen. This is the technology that we can use. But I think it's also talking about ambition, and the future isn't built for organizations that move like the fastest, but I think it's the one who have the right direction and going to design for tomorrow. So it's interesting to think about optimize yesterday, but designing tomorrow. And I hope everyone will think about this. And then I'm actually already at my last slides. And another one, because design your workplace like the future is watching, because it is. And don't ask what AI can do for your organization. Ask what kind of organization you want to be. And where do you want, or where do you think that the intelligence deserve to have a place in? And design your workplace like the future is watching. Because yes, it is. And I think it's your time to think about it, to make a step. So let me see if I can stop this. I'm coming back to you. Yes, here I am. Stop screen. A lot of information, a lot of leadership, organization, where to think about. I think we are living in a world where we see that this is new, this is what we can add, this is how we can start. We already thinking from as a person or from our team, but it's really important to think about the future of your organization and how you want to redesign that. Start small, start with a team. Yeah, I think a lot of great stuff is going to happen in the future. What do you think, Marcel?
So we got so many really good comments. I want to read someone. So Mirko, could you show some comments? And I think there was a really good one. So I will start here with Marnix. Leadership shouldn't just explore how AI fits into the future of the organization. They should actively communicate that vision. colleagues to know that management is thinking ahead, especially the new generation entering the workforce. Being transparent about your AI ambitions shows direction, builds trust, and signals that your organization is ready for the next. Really good summary.
I think yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think this is not something that happened a lot, that organization really communicate in what their vision is with AI, because everyone is as well a little bit scared, right? What's going to happen with me? What's going to happen with our team? What is going to, how are we going to work together with AI? And I think if you only can say, okay, this is something that we're figuring out because we really want to stay ahead, or we really want to make some processes better, I think that's the first win already that you can make with your organization. And then again, we're talking back to culture. We need to have like a culture who understands this, because this is the new thing that it's not going to change. And we are still in the way that we're thinking this is something that is just adding on in what we're already doing. And I think there are a lot of organizations who are seeing this in a different kind of way. And it's now the time to step up and also think in that kind of way, because otherwise I believe like in the upcoming years there will be changing a lot in your organization because you are not there, and then you all want to do all the things. And I think and another thing probably just to add on, because I think we're also waiting for best practices from others, but not every organization is the same. I think no organization is the same, so you really need to build it from yourself. Yeah.
So here, Therese the short name is Therese. We say Therese.
We see it.
Some great potential where, because when there is no ego, an agent could be programmed to respond more lucidly.
Yeah, I think that's as well what C's mentioned here is like, when, for example, like agents can learn itself. I think that's really interesting, and giving some feedback how that agent is evolving. We see now that we can give agents like a script or saying this is how you need to act, this is what you need to do. But the next step is that an agent can say, but this is what I can do, but this is what I also can do. Do you already thinking about this? So it's going to challenge us in a way, and we need to understand what it is and what it actually means. So I don't know if that's really like a question that C has, but I think it's something that is really, we need to understand what's happening as a human. And I think that's a big change that we need to embrace and understand.
This is regarding to my question to you a little bit. What do you think is the biggest mind shift change where employees struggle most with an agentic workplace? What do you think?
Yes, so the biggest mind shift is, I think, not only add on your work that you're already doing, but think about the outcomes that you want to achieve and how you can do it together with the persons and with the agents. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about persons or if we're talking about agents, but I think the outcomes is the most importantly what we want to achieve and why we want to achieve it. Of course, the persons is important, but thinking from that way and what kind of persons fit in and what kind of agents fit in, I think that's the biggest mind shift that we want to have. And I think a lot of organizations will not doing this at the moment and have like a big like architecture thing with they build all kind of stuff and then people going away and we need to rebuild or burnout. I think we also get a lot in I also see it that people can manage it anymore. So the shift is system thinking.
Yes, if I see here, for example, if I have an M365 Copilot license, I have 21 agents, and and Dr. Nitin Paranyapit show us all the features I have in the free version. So, and as an end user, I can say, now, I have a problem. Which agent should I use? And I think this is for me. And if I see, if I struggle as an expert by myself. So how struggle other with too many agents?
It's interesting what you say. Yeah, because we need to have like understanding what kind of agents there are in an organization, what are they doing, but as well, what are the costs of that agents and are they really needed there? Yeah. So we will go to see a lot of ghost agents. But interesting what you're saying if you're talking about M365 Copilot. And as well, I think a lot of people don't adopt it in the right way, because what we need to learn as well with M365 Copilot is not only thinking about, okay, I can summarize my meeting, but why are we having this meeting? Asking the right questions in that meeting, so you get the right summary out of it, or ask the right questions that you get like the transcript out of it. I always use a transcript, and doing the next step, 4 or 5 steps that you want to achieve with that meeting. And we don't really good in that, thinking like 5 steps ahead.
Yeah, it's the right thinking.
So this is the same as what we have with agents. It's the same we see in the problems with people using AI tools just as an add-on for summarize the meeting, and that's it.
This is a good way of working. So here's another interesting question from Mahmoud. This is brilliant. One idea to add: imagine every agent having a mini flight recorder, a replayable log of its decisions. Would make governance, learning, and scaling much faster for real enterprise use cases.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? If you can build something in it with different kind of logs of the decisions that we can make. I think as well, like the approvals is something that we're going to see even more, right? The human approval that needs to be in, but as well, like this is exactly what he is saying is as well. I think again, it's your system that you're thinking about around the governance, but how do we really want to learn? What kind of tools are we using? And how is it about like security, governance? How is it how can it actually keep learning, and how can it keep evolving? It's not making an agent once and saying good luck, because everything keeps changing. So who is the owner? Who is the one who is responsible for the agent? Who is the one who's responsible for that agent and the outcomes of it? And I think that's as well what we're going to see in leadership and our roles. We are responsible for the outcomes, what the agent is going to give. And that's as well, I think, back to your questions before, one of the big shifts that we're going to see, that we are going to be responsible for the outcomes instead of our outcomes only.
So what an amazing start at the day with so many questions. So
sorry for it.
Yeah.
Of course, I wanna. If there are more questions, please reach out. I'm always happy to help or to.
I saw here one. So I know Vlad has pushed 2 questions. Mirko, could you show one? Yeah. So another question from Vlad is also, as a side note, linked to above, I already created tools that output content or work indistinguishable from my own, but in a niche, but I'm still agent, already could learn on the fly what I do and copy me 100%. Yeah. So this is the part of a mind shift, I think. So how could I, for example, in Outlook, write as or act as me? This is one part where I'm thinking directly, and it's so yesterday. We had so many sessions. One is regarding to Windows 365, and so you can automate your desktop management. You can organize your Outlook. You can organize everything what you are. So do you think? And one day we are fully automated, and
we don't need this anymore in the future. We don't need it. True, it's really true. We have our voice and the agents will get the outputs or ask the questions that we need. So, and I believe what we're saying make us a better human, or there's always what we say, but I think this has more impact if we really, this is something big, and the processes that we're running, for the most of the time we say that we know that how our process is, but when I'm really looking to processes of organizations, it's not always that I think how they are really working. So as well, not only on AI, but as well when you get visible what kind of processes are and how we can do this smarter, that's something that gets less time in what we're doing. And then adding AI, not only to do things faster, but as well knowledge that we need. I think that's a really big shift, again, when we're talking about shifts. But when we're thinking about Vlad, it's interesting. I try to make a copy of myself as well, like a Femke AI agent. But I think can be just one agent. I think I need to be like 10 different kind of agents if we're going to work with each other and doing things for me. And yeah, it's interesting to think, can you be a copy of yourself? I hope not. I think in some way you still need your vision and your way of thinking, and your creativity is something that, for example, is something that can be taken away from an agent. Or you really need to make it really how you think. But yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, and where are you standing as a person in this whole process, right? Are you making an agent for yourself and you have more time, or are you making an agent in your team and you saying, okay, but this is what I'm now going to do with my next steps? Yeah.
Oh, so whereas it's not regarding to the technology, no. I saw an documentation on the German television. I think it was in the 80s, and where said about the people in the future. So we have so much time because of the machines does everything for them. So because we didn't know what to do with this time.
This is interesting. But with every technology that we had in the past, we thought that we have a lot of more time, and we still don't have more time. When we had like the wash disher, we thought now we have lots of time because I don't have to do my wash anymore. Still have not more time.
That's absolutely like
it's true. Yeah. So I don't think we get more time. I think we have different kind of things that we're going to do, but it's on us to think about, okay, where is my strengths? What is my skills? Where I'm good at, and how can I add it as a human in this way of thing? Yeah. I see another question.
More.
Yeah. Or maybe one more. We want to have more money. We want to have more. That's always the thing, right?
Hans question, this is exactly where I have been working on, creating a system to make enterprise really computable, reality computable, bridging the gap between how leadership thinks where org works versus what the system show how it actually works.
Yeah, this is interesting. I think great to hear, Hans, that this is what he is working on. Because I think that's the message that I really wanted to give in this session, is that we add on a lot of things in our way of working, but like the middle management is sort of responsible for a lot of the things around AI. This leadership is saying a lot. So saying a lot, okay, we're going to work with AI, fun, great, we see this, we need to change, we need to do something. We feel the fear of missing out, like other organizations already being probably much farther. So middle management, let's go, your job, do it.
But sounds we need to invite Hans to one of our M365 shows.
Yeah,
sounds
probably.
Really
I think he would like it. So it's interesting to see that this resonates in what he's doing as well. Yeah.
So,
And-
but
and-
we're running out of time. So many questions. So it was crazy and really good. So because it was an amazing keynote from you. I really like that.
Thank you.
I hope we see us again. And our next session in nearly 5 minutes is Kevin McDonald with Anatomy of an Agent. See you again.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice day. Good start in the day.
Bye-bye.
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 The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action. Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con again. Here with me is Kevin McDonald. Welcome to you. And the topic for today is anatomy of an agent. The stage is yours, Kevin.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Marcel and team, for putting this session together. Let's bring up my screen and get started with this one. Right. Do you know, it's funny. You kind of think you're used to using Riverside. And sorry, not Riverside, StreamYard, and then you forget about it here. So thank you very much for joining me today. Hope you've enjoyed the previous two sessions from Pascal and Femke from that. What I'm going to talk today is a little bit about agents, which you would have heard an awful lot about. What we're digging into here is how you build up an agent and the kind of considerations of how you pull that together. It's very easy to kind of go from those simple ones in things like SharePoint, the agents within there, or things like the Copilot Studio Lite, which is now back to being called Agent Builder from there. But what do you have to plan? What do you think about? I'm actually wearing my Copilot Connection and Agentic Decade top from when I spoke with Chris Huntingford and Zoe Wilson at ESPC recently. And one thing Chris talked about was a 40-20-40 rule on that. 40% of your time is set preparing for your agent, thinking about your data, thinking about what you actually want it to do to get the benefit. Then you've got 20% of your time actually doing that building, creating those instructions, and then another 40% testing, making sure it works, making sure it comes through. So really interesting. That's what we're going to cover today. Before we get onto that, a little bit myself. As I mentioned, I'm Kevin McDonald, currently the Copilot Strategy and Modern Workplace AI Lead at Avanade. I look after all the Copilot and agents considerations within the UK for Avanade and the Accenture Microsoft Business Group. Been working in the modern workplace space for about 21, I need to work out my maths. No, not quite 22 years from that, and about 14 years started over on the client side in financial services. So working with investment banks, asset managers, before hopping over onto the consulting sides, really kind of sharing from across Azure, building development platforms. But SharePoint's always been my love, and helping people to do things without having to go through big, extensive projects on there. And that's what I love about SharePoint, Power Platform, and now Copilot, which I'm an MVP on the M365 side around Copilot and Copilot extensibility, which covers all the different agents. I'm also the podcast host, as mentioned, of Copilot Connection. Just search for Copilot Connection in your favorite podcast app or on YouTube. Myself and Zoe Wilson speak every couple of weeks-ish when we manage to find time on the kind of latest subjects. And we're trying this year to really drill down into a few key areas looking at, especially the human connection of that. I also have my other co-host, Gary Trinder. We focus a little bit more on the technical side, so digging into how you build agents, some of the back ends of that, so do check that out. I've also put in there, lover of Acorn Electrons. I do love a little bit of classic IT in there as well. So those who remember those beautiful beige keyboards, all-in-ones from there, and playing games like Repton on there, which I still enjoy from that. In terms of today, we're going to talk about why everyone's so obsessed with agents. I know we heard an awful lot about Copilot when it first came out, but that phrase agents has become even more pervasive on there. And it's often not entirely clear what that is. Is it just marketing, or is there actually something in it that really matters within there? And I think one of the tricky things is to define what we mean by an agent, because over the years, this has been for different things. If we think back to travel agents, when we used to go to someone in person to help book our holidays and book our trips on there, now obviously you can go to the internet and do it from there. And we're starting to see things like ChatGPT being able to connect into those different systems and be able to pull the details you need and do that booking from there. But what actually is an agent? How do we define it? I really love this definition that Abram Jackson from Microsoft defined on there. I'm getting caught out because that's not the slide. I've forgotten to hit that one. There, I got the prettier version of that just for you today that I updated last night. So we'll go on to that one. So Abram Jackson shared this from Simon Willison, and he says that an LLM agent runs tools in a loop to achieve a goal. And I really love that last point on there. It's you're building an agent to do something. And I think that helps people think about in this multi-agent world, which we'll get onto, is why do you have so many different ones? And it's because each of those agents has a different purpose, a different goal. How does it get to that goal? How does it actually achieve that? Well, it connects to other things, other tools, which could be other APIs. It could be your knowledge systems. We've heard from Ignite recently about Work IQ, Fabric IQ, all those different layers that are providing the knowledge and data, the information for that agent to pull that through. But we also can connect up with things like MCP servers. We could talk to other agents, and all those are considered the tools for one agent to get that goal it's looking forward to. And the other element in there is that loop. No, we're not talking about Microsoft Loop in this case. We're talking about it going around in circles, going around repeatedly to get towards that goal. And that's a really important thing to think about. I think in this world where many of us who are maybe slightly older have grown up through search and things like Google and Yahoo before that, you type something in, you got a load of results from there. But in this world where we're moving towards LLMs, it needs to go more to a conversation. And actually, those LLMs, as they've evolved, is not ask it something, boom, it goes, gets it, brings it back. It will go and iterate back and forward. It will build a plan to think about, right, I've asked a question. What could that mean? What could that achieve from there? What are the extra questions? Let me go and explore this. If you've watched the researcher agent and you've watched the kind of the plan it builds up and executes, it kind of goes a bit like you would do if you're researching, going back to the travel agent story. If you're researching a holiday, you think, right, where do I want to go? Well, I want a beach. Let's investigate which locations have a beach. Well, I need it to not be too far from me. I got 3 or 4 hours within there. And you'll go back and forth, kind of digging into different things, probably having hundreds of tabs open, and you'll dump around those and you'll pull bits and pieces together into a more coherent story before then taking action. And that's that loop that an agent will go through. And that could be from a single comment, single prompt that you made, or it could be, and this is where we see the real advantage of some of these systems, that conversation, having that back and forwards going through as well from this on there. So thinking about that, and if I say one thing from this slide to take away, it's what is the goal of your agent? What are you trying to achieve from that? Because as I talked at the beginning about that 40, 20, 40, thinking about what you want to achieve, is it worthwhile with an agent? What is the goal that you're trying to get out of it? Because if you're very vague, then you're going to find people doing very vague things with it and possibly going outside what you're trying to achieve. So make sure at the start you're thinking about your agent, what you're trying to achieve, and what you need to get to there. Now, there's different types of agents that we see out there, and I'm not talking about the technology side of things. I'm talking about things like the knowledge. So what you have your knowledge agent that will answer things, that will take those tools, that content, that work IQ layer, that fabric IQ layer to answer things on there. So you're defining your knowledge needed for that. You've got your task-based agents that will do stuff. If we're talking back to that holiday situation, think about how you book that holiday. The actual action of booking needs to be done by a task. You've also got the analyze area. So thinking about how do you ponder on things, taking often data, but possibly documents, slicing it down and doing that detailed review of what it looks like, extracting information and summarizing things from there as well, pulling forward, looking, maybe you've got a set of data, not too large, but you want to kind of look and say, where am I seeing the deviations? Where should I drill into? Having that agent that can analyze that. You've then got that automated agent that could be some of the others, but is there triggered by something happening. Generally, the agents that we've seen mostly are, I go at that That automated trigger is me typing something into a chat box. But what about it's when a document arrives into an area? Maybe you receive an email and you want to process that. Maybe your CRM system, someone logs a new opportunity and you want to process some information on that. It's that automated side, which could be linked to robotic process automation, but you're bringing the agentic side, that almost that more fuzzy logic of analyzing things, of where it's not clear cut, where it's not this, not that. It's kind of this based on a set of guidelines, which are humans will take a document and with a set of guidelines and work out an answer to things. A very automated system won't. But with agentic, you can bring a lot of that human-esque fuzzy logic and analysis to it from there as well. And the final part is the orchestrator. This is when you're moving more towards multi-agent systems and you have a specific agent whose goal is to connect up to other agents to get what you need to get done from there. So it works out when you need to get your knowledge agents to go and pull the knowledge on your different types of booking. It may be you have guidelines that if someone says they want a beach and work out where they are, that's a specific agent. So the orchestrator will work out that. Maybe someone knows where they want to go and they want to go straight to the information from that as well. I can see from the chat someone mentioning there, when you're requested to complete your tax declarations in Belgium, yes, having an agent that will orchestrate and understand, aha, this person's from Belgium. We have some awkward tax laws going on there and some very lovely chocolates. As I was there last summer, I know all about those as well. So having the orchestrator, knowing which of the agent is most specialized. If you think to an organization, this is where the manager or even the service desk, you call the service desk. I had to do this yesterday. My laptop was hung at the BIOS, wouldn't even get going. Now, I couldn't get into anything, so I called the service desk. They didn't know the details on how to fix it, but they knew the person who did. That orchestrator is much like that, who will connect the right agent to get things done from there. So if you think about that, I talked about a few situations which are around what humans do, what you do within an organization. And actually, we're seeing in some cases, probably quite a few, starting to think about those steps in a process that a human will pick through is where you can start to bring these agents in. Well, now, Kevin, you sound like you're starting to talk about replacing all humans with agents. I am not talking about that. But if you think about your processes, those steps within there, then you really need to think about where is the human adding the true value from that? Where within your agents do you need to escalate and bring that to a human element of there? How can you get the most on that? I'm having many conversations with organizations where it is not about replacing humans. It's about humans not having the capacity to do what they should be doing, not being able to meet their SLAs to get things done. So how do you actually support this? And this is where we're seeing the agent conversation come in primarily. Look at those areas where you've got those bottlenecks and look at how agents can help accelerate and reduce that dependency going on from there as well. So if you think about some of your tasks, an agent is not going to replace you, but there could be steps that you could do in that. I'm a solution architect. One of the things I've been looking at is how can I better log my opportunities? So when I'm speaking to a client, understanding what they want, I kind of have that chat, have that conversation and go, right, yeah, I get a feeling I know what I need to do. But having an agent listen to that conversation where I've had that meeting with them to work through and automatically extract and go, oh, yes, we think that fits this part of our catalog. We think that fits this part of the catalog, accelerating that element. Now, it's not then going to go off and process and do all those things automatically and build a migration platform or build a set of agents. I still need to review that, make sure it's got that value, that understanding not just of what they're saying, but what they want. What are those extra questions I need to ask? But an agent can help make sure that I'm doing that correctly and bring things on there. I love that comment from the chat, circumventing ego. I'm trying to be very restrained on that one because I absolutely agree on that one. Adding some reality and not just I think from this on that is absolutely true. So thinking about those processes and having an agent help you talk through that to get to what you want to achieve from there as well. Now, I often like to talk about the enterprise agent framework because in this multi-agent world, there's different levels of things to think about. There's 3 different types of people building those agents. We will see more and more. I know Femke in the last one, I think I heard Pascal talk a little about this, about the frontier firm and those different elements of human with agents, agent powered with human support on there. But those people building them is going to be these different areas. You have your end user. It's not too hard. And we've seen many agentathons take place where anyone can build an agent. With SharePoint, it's very easy to build an agent on top of your data and your content just to answer questions. I've had a few examples of clients where we're running a project and you have all your design documentation. All I want is to stop people disrupting my goddamn day with stupid questions that have already been answered in the knowledge. So put an agent over the top of that, but create specific ones like, here is your design agent, which will answer question on the design documentation. Oh, did we make a decision on whether the cog is going to be to the left or the right? There's one for the SharePoint legacy people out there. Then make sure that's in your documentation and have an agent which can answer that so you don't have to spend time searching and pointing to exactly where that is on there. That's where that end user can very easily create that. Now, then, if we're talking about stretching things out to the tools on there, you might want more of a Copilot Studio type agent or a declarative agent. You've got that power user. This is someone who understands prompts, who can understand that idea of connecting to different knowledge, of connecting to different tools, who feels fairly comfortable around writing prompts and instructions for an agent. But if you gave them a C# or an agent framework, or as it was, semantic kernel, they're just going to go, what on earth is this? What do you mean you want me to write Python? That's more the specialist area who can really get the power and get those complex solutions that really dig into the very latest models and the very latest way of extracting things like skills and other elements on there. The power user will be able to use those. The specialist will be able to build very complex agents, but also be able to build those models, build those MCP servers, build those tools and knowledge that take things to an extra degree on there. Where do you start with this? Start with the end user, start simple and build up from there. And it comes the same to the type of agents. You have those point single agent solutions. A lot of the policy, HR policy, IT service desk agents I see time and time again fits that single agent solution. There is a standard block of either one bit of knowledge or maybe a few bits of knowledge that you can connect to. Maybe you've got a tool. If we're talking service desk, you may have an easy way of raising a ticket or understanding what sort of ticket needs to be raised based on discussion. But it's a single agent. You don't necessarily need too much complexity. The next one, where you start to have a set of different items on there. All I can think of these examples that I'm going to demo in a minute. So I'm going to try not to talk about that one. But you may have a process where an email comes in with some details of a product that needs to be updated in a database. And it comes in an Excel format. Being Excel, someone fills it in properly, some don't. So you've got a bit of analysis on that. So that initial agent will take that request, extract that Excel agent. Another agent which will look at that Excel file and understand the guidelines of what they need to try and work out. Maybe there's weight in there and someone's put 240 grams, someone's put 0.24 kilograms, someone's putting pounds, and your agent could understand that and convert it into that kind of common format, do that conversion for you, or maybe translate it from there. And you'll have different specialities needed from there. You've then got that agent that will check the guidelines. Maybe they've put a description of a product in there and you want to make sure that's punchy, easy to understand, and someone's put a nice waffly phrase in there that just doesn't make sense. So having an agent specifically for answering that. And then you've got your agent, which will actually update it into your system, will understand what can be there, checking, knowing what else is in there. So you've got a few different blocks within that make sense, each of those having their own goal, an orchestrator that will combine all those things together into a final solution that works all in one place on there. But that's one solution. You're then going to get to the point with an org level where you've got a combination of those end user simple ones. One of my favorites I use is a status report agent that actually takes my waffly garble and puts it into a very common format. And I'm seeing a lot of organizations really see value in that, where everyone puts a slightly different way of saying things. So have an agent to try and help standardize those. So that could be for a single person. It could be a very simple agent that a lot of people use. It could need to connect into something which consolidates all those into a summary of things. So thinking on that org level, you have all these different agents that need to be connected together at different levels from that. So that's where you've got your org level governance and tools needed, because you need to control how many of these agents are they being used. Are they only doing what they should do? Have you evaluated that? Are they connecting to the right systems? There's a lovely story of an organization very early in the days who thought, let's try some of these agents and connect up to our HR platform. And so they connected up to all the APIs and they're great, we can extract all this information. And someone said, how do I get promoted? But they had literally connected all the APIs without too much thought around it. And it actually promoted that person straight away. Said, great, I can help you with that. Congratulations on your promotion from there. So yeah, they very quickly unwound that because they at least were aware of what was going on and trialed it with a few people to look at it. But they realized very quickly to turn things off. I know Chris Huntingford and also Dan Laskovitz always talk about when you're using some of the default MCP servers available from Microsoft now, just initially turn off all the creation, turn off all deletion, turn off all the update ones until you are very comfortable that it will only do those things when you absolutely want it to. That comes back to that testing from there. But that org level governance of making sure you have that control and you're comfortable, you can understand what an agent is doing is absolutely vital. Let's come back to that point solution and talk about a single agent for now. What does an agent look like? I feel this is my movie moment. You know, when you're watching a film and someone says the title of that film, you're like, yay, here is the anatomy of an agent on there. This is the nuts and bolts on what we're talking about from this and what you need to think about from there. We're going to start off with that, the model. And in many cases, this will be the simplest thing. If you're using a SharePoint agent, or maybe a Copilot Studio agent, you have no control. It's going to use whatever Copilot has as the latest model on there. The demo I'm about to show in a minute that I originally created back in December, they've just updated the model and the output is very, very different and a lot chattier and didn't get to the point quite as much as I was planning. So I had to do a little bit of tweaking on that last night. So the model can make a real difference to how your agent behaves. If you're looking at Copilot Studio, by default, now I'm going to say this wrong. I think now it's changing to GPT-5, but it had the GPT-4 previously. If you have enabled the Claude, the Anthropic models within there, then you can make choice of those. So with Copilot Studio, those power users start to have a bit more control. Certainly with the GPT-5, you can use chat. If you've enabled them, then you can start to use the reasoning ones or the auto, which will decide whether it's reasoning. If I'm losing you and you don't understand, then don't change that model. Don't play around with that one. If you go on to things like Microsoft Foundry, which I'll show briefly a little bit later, then you will realize that there is a lot of complexity that can be brought from those different models. So in many cases, you won't, jumping ahead too far there. You won't have to worry too much about the models on that one, but make sure you're doing that with intention. The next one to look at is the instructions over there. This is your prompt or your system prompt that defines how your agent behaves on there. This can be very simple. I want you to be an agent that answers questions based on what they say. Hopefully not. Hopefully you can use what you've learned from your prompting, from that muscle building that Pascal spoke about earlier, build into that instructions. This is also where you tell it what to do and you kind of guide it and try as much as possible to tell it what not to do. This is where you define your goal. This is where you define what you want your outputs to look like within there. So this is really where a lot of your time will get spent in terms of building that on that. Things like Copilot Studio and the SharePoint agents guide you through, ask you back and forth what you wanted to do, and kind of improve those instructions as well on there. You can also set the tone and personality of how you want that agent to behave and what you want to do it with the other two things, which is those knowledge and those tools on there. I do sometimes see different ones are starting to say that knowledge is part of tools on there. I like to think of it slightly differently because I think the way you slice up your knowledge, especially if you're looking at a large volume of content, the way you slice that down to get the most effective one is slightly different to just pointing at an API. I'm talking with a client right now, and they're looking at their existing kind of web pages, their policy pages, and we're finding at times it's pulling back the wrong results because there's too much on that single page, and it's not chunking down those elements to those specific parts on that. Now we've got two choices. One, which is what we're going to do, of trying to split down those pages to be a little bit more atomic and solving one thing at a time. Or you could change your chunking strategy and bring things like Azure AI Search to help surface that knowledge in the way that you want it to do. So you've got a few different bits on there. If you're using something like Copilot Studio or the SharePoint agents, you've got slightly less within there unless you bring in something like Azure AI Search. So think about how your knowledge is constructed. I'd also say with this, and oh gosh, if I had a pound every time someone said, your agent doesn't work, it hasn't answered my question. What's your question? Can you show me where the answer to that is in the knowledge? Oh, it's not there. That will be why it is not answering that question from that. So making sure your knowledge has the answers you want in there. The tools are the actions that can take place. You're connecting to those APIs. MCP is growing on that. MCP is basically an API with a definition to help the agent orchestrate, which we'll come to in a sec, to find the right tool from there. So using MCP will give you a much easier way to get to the right thing to take action, or possibly with APIs, if you want to pull real-time information, maybe you've got an ERP system where you want to know exactly how many things have we got in inventory at this point in time. That could be considered knowledge because it's kind of data from there. But if you want it real-time, knowledge is generally indexed. There's a bit of a lag depending how you've written those things and how often you're indexing. And if you want the very latest, that's when you bring a tool to be far more specific around that. I mentioned orchestration. This is how your agent will decide whether to get knowledge, whether to get tools, whether you use the model to answer the questions. These models, things like the GPTs, have got a huge amount of knowledge built into them automatically. So does it answer it from that knowledge it's got there? Does it answer it from your own knowledge? Generally, in many cases, you're not going to have much control. It's more about the platform you use. So whether you use Copilot Studio or declarative agents, they will have different ways of how effective they are in orchestrating and answering your question. If you've got a custom engine agent, you can build more complexity into how it does that routing and how it decides which of the APIs to get to. My favorite example of that is maybe you've created an agent that surfaces your policies and allows people to raise a ticket. But you could have different sorts of ticket. You could have one that is there for HR. You could have a different system that's for IT service desk, different ones for your facilities. You're in workplace, my chair's broken or the air conditioning's too hot or cold. If you say, I want to raise a ticket, how does it know what you're talking about from there? The orchestration and combined with the instructions will help work out how it routes towards that. So that can be really important on there. I would also say it's one of those things that, oh, am I going to get in trouble for this? Hopefully not. With things like Copilot Studio, they can change and you don't always see that, which is a little bit frustrating. But be aware that that orchestration, your testing of that is important. And then the final thing is the channel. Are you going to surface this in Teams, in Copilot, on a website? Is it going to be answering via email? How is this agent going to perform? Many people just think agent, Copilot, that's the only place, but there's lots of different ways. That can also be linked with the trigger. So the trigger is how you set that agent off, and that could be through text chat. It could be through something happening. One thing I would see, so I'm just hearing my phone buzz and making sure there's no emergency anywhere. No, good. One thing the observer of you may notice that trigger is in a slightly different format to the rest. Responsible AI is important. And even though SharePoint would create a picture of an agent holding a gun, it would not allow me to say the word trigger in there. So I had to manually add that on afterwards, just for amusement value from that. Okay, I'm going to go into a demo. I'm afraid with the demo that I am doing this pre-recorded, on there. Purely, as I mentioned yesterday, I tried this out. When I originally created this, I had about 3 conversations and it was pretty quick to do it. The new model seems to have landed with this agent. Oh my goodness, it waffles on. But the quality is far, far better from this. Let me make that a little bit larger for you. Hopefully you can see that nicely. So I've created an agent called the Process Builder agent. This is there designed to have that conversation with someone. This one, I want to create an agent called a Freedom of Information Tracker. So I'm going to talk about my process. I get lots of emails to different mail groups that make a Freedom of Information request. However, we don't track those in a common way on there. So this is the kind of conversation many consultants out there or people working in an organization is, right, you've sent me an email saying you want some help. What is it you want? This will talk you through that. And this agent will talk you through the steps to first define those processes. So here it's asking me for a bit more information. What task are you trying to assist or automate? And you can see it's defining it as the task on there. So I'm kind of repeated at a bit more detail as you would talking. I want to take requests from emails to a shared mailbox. Great. Step 1, define the task. Is this your task? So it's talked through, it's been explicit, it's playing back to me what it wants from there. Perfect. What capabilities? So here we're starting to look at those tools. It needs to read emails in a shared mailbox. It wants to qualify, which is a freedom of information request. It's started to talk through what I need from it. What functionality does it want? It's kind of picked up these from what I've said already, but given that, as any good consultant, it's trying to expand, said, okay, you haven't talked about follow-up reminders. Maybe you want to do that as well. Maybe you want to classify the request. And you'll see if I go down, I've just added, in fact, I just copied and pasted some of the things it said on there of which ones I wanted it to do. And obviously, it's very sycophantic on this. It's saying brilliant. Those additions are fantastic. Let's step back to the required flow. So now it's started to put into a flow. We've got the capabilities. What sort of person do you want? So it gave me a list and I was like, yes, information governance officer on there. So it started to understand the different tasks. Knowing it's in information governance, it's asked me if I want to do more things. I've kind of gone, no, I just want the FOI request. What tools do I need? So here it's starting to talk about Outlook and SharePoint. And I've said just Outlook and SharePoint. This is what I loved here. It's given that it's now ready to design a flow. So it's talked about the different details, what information. So the policy document, if I go on a bit further, I'm going to skip ahead just in the interest of time. Where did we get to here? So it's got the capabilities. You can see it's building up a lovely summary as I go, which I can ask it to extract and have that as my document to be validated. It's got those capabilities. It's got the knowledge sources needed. Here it's getting that workflow. So it's talking about monitoring the mailbox, identifying those requests from there. And as you said, and this is the joy of the agent, and this is when your instructions, if you don't want it to do this, make sure you tell it not to. but I've got it to create it as a mermaid diagram. Mermaid's an open source, I think it's open source, certainly available to use and define on there. Ooh, that hasn't zoomed very nicely. Let's not do that. But here you can see I've got a flow diagram. There's some markdown language behind it that defines how those things are connected that I can view effectively as code, but I can see the steps it's going to go through and could ask it to refine that. And you can see it's told me the mappings for that's gone on there. So I've gone back, let's get it to define. So it's given me, I've actually asked it to look at the 1, 2, 3 process, so the broad processing job, the sub processes, the step-by-step actions. Let's go on a little bit. There it's given me effectively my documentation that I could share with the client. It's asked me to simulate the conversation. So based on that, is this the kind of thing I would expect to see so I can try it out? Interestingly, it gave me some YAML instructions. I have no idea what this YAML is meant to be for. I didn't ask it for that, and that's something it didn't used to do until this new model came in. But the final one is I've actually asked it to create it as a declarative agent for M365, and it has built up on that schema a set of ways of doing that. I'm going to be honest, I still haven't found a way to make it absolutely stick to that, because it's put things like tasks and it's just listed some tasks. And I know the schema is not going to help with that. I have seen other people create ones of these that you give it a list of those tasks and it will automatically map to ones that you have in your catalog. So I've seen more other ways of doing this, and I'm planning to extend this internally. Still on some debate as to how much I can share that as well. So that is an agent that will really help you build some process and bring your information together as well. If you would like this, I'm hoping I can put this in the chat. If not, I will certainly put it into, oh, it's asking me to log in. I might not do that right now on there, but if you go to github.com/kevmcdonk, look in the repositories, there's one there called the process agent generator on that. So you're welcome to go in and have a look at the definition of that declarative agent as well. Okay, keeping an eye on time, I'm going to try and jump back to the slides from there. Let's see if I can paste that. So what does it look like? We've talked about that anatomy of an agent, those trigger instructions, tools, etc. from there. What about when you start to come together with multiple agents? How does the story change within that? Now, the key thing is when you've got these different agents, you want to make sure that you define the flow. How do you connect from one agent to the next one? How do you decide when to go back and forth? How do you pull those details together? Pulling that, again, we talked about that orchestrator agent. The instructions for that is absolutely vital from within there. So defining how you connect to those. Going to in a minute show also the ways you can do this with Microsoft Foundry. I'm not going to spend too long on the technical details, but thinking about your flow, even if you're using Copilot Studio with connected agents, defining those connected agents and when you connect to those. Also think about your boundaries. How often do you want to call those connected agents? If your flow hasn't been well defined, are you going to get stuck in a loop going round and round from that one and never escape from that as well? So think about defining within there your boundaries and what you want to stop from it, when you want it to not join in as well. So think about those elements is key. Think about that governance. How do you control, especially if you're using something like Microsoft Foundry and you haven't defined your flow well and you're using the very latest, most expensive model and it goes round and round, boom, your costs have gone through the roof. So how are you going to control that? How are you going to control that people have put those definitions in? How are you going to control that people are making sure the agents do what they're meant to do and don't do what they're not meant to do? So all these things that as you start to scale up, you add more and more complexity to how these things work together, how you connect to those different systems. Another one with governance, if you've defined your tools and you've got 20 agents using those and you realize you need to make an update, Same as if you've been managing APIs. How do you communicate that to the other agents? Your change for that? Do you allow it to support both versions of the tool? Will it update nicely? So starting to think about how all those things come together and how those agents actually talk to each other becomes key for that. Now, I promised another demo. Let's flip over to where on earth is Nathan? So this will, I'm sure I zoomed this one, but no, I've actually made it smaller. Let's go in a little larger so you can see this. This is Microsoft Foundry. If you haven't seen it, this is the, I don't want to call it legacy, probably the current experience rather than the new one. I've defined my models down the bottom. I can set up control guardrails. I can set up my evaluations to test it all within this one place. And here I've got my set of agents. So if I start off with this game agent, the purpose of this is to send a photo every day and say, where do you think this is? This all came from something I had years ago around looking at the daily Bing image. And I had a team and we had little trophies. We'd all try and guess where it was. And at the end of the day, someone would look it up and say and work out who was closest. This is a great example that it took quite a bit of effort to collate all those results together, put it in a spreadsheet, then try and work out who was closest, especially if it was not far away. You'd have to go to Google, put the back and forth, make sure you're looking at the crow's eye as a crow flies on there. An agent improved this greatly. I first built this in Bot Framework. Every time kind of new AI comes out, I use this as an example. So you'll see I've got a summary in there. This is effectively my orchestrator agent that defines the instructions. It defines the different states that a game is in. Now, how do I manage that state? Well, I've got a game state agent which stores this in Azure from there. So I haven't got any knowledge from this. I've got my tools, which is going and logging guesses. So this orchestrator agent has a tool to log those guesses when we get to that point. I've got that game state agent. And if I go and take a look at that, I can see you're an agent that helps maintain the state of the game for each day, has no knowledge, but it gets the game status and sets the game status. That's the only purpose of it. So you can see here, this is added as a connected agent from there. I've got another one that helps select that photo from Google's a tool of getting from Google Images using the Places API, picking a random one. It took me a long time to build a random function. Now I've just got it as an instruction. Say, please go and pick a random function from there. Now, if I want to try this out, I can go into the playground and I can say, start a game from there. And that should, I'm always nervous about testing it on the same day because it only allows one guess per day unless I clear things out. So I'm hoping, damn you, let's try that again on there. Given the time, I might stop this and always re-record this demo another time. You test things 5 times a day before, make sure you're all happy and then go, there we go. Okay. Let's see, select a photo. Hopefully I haven't burnt through my Google API mini budget that I had set. That could be why it's failing. So now it's going out, it's picking a random longitude, latitude, looking at photos near that place. If it doesn't find any, it's picking another one. It loops about 30 times, which is why sometimes it takes a bit longer. And that's all within that photo selection agent. Yes, perfect. And it has managed to follow the instructions and not give it. Unfortunately, in this playground, it doesn't render it very nicely. I did at some point have a working version of this that put it into a web page and it would render it a lot nicely. There we go. There is your photo. If anyone wants to in the chat, take a guess of where that is. I've never seen this photo before, so I don't know. I always look and see if there's anything from the language you can work out. I can't see too much. Look at the type of trees, style of building. I don't know. That kind of feels European-esque. Maybe Italy, or I'm going to go Croatia for that one. So if I go into here, I can say use that photo and start game. I'm going to keep an eye on the comments to see if anyone wants to guess where that is. I won't put your actual name up on here. Don't worry. So it's now going to lock in that photo, and let me guess. So Kevin thinks it is Croatia. It will actually, when you're logged in, recognize your name and allow everyone to guess with this. I can also in here say other people. So I'm going to say Zoe thinks it is Philippines. I think I spelled that wrong. Let's see. Sarah thinks it is Geneva. And let's pick someone. Let's go South America. My son's heading out there soon. Egg thinks it is, let's say Chile. Okay. Tell me who the winner is. So now I'm not going to select it, but I've got another agent in there that is the calculate result agent. So tell me who the winner is. It's now going to go in and calculate that result. It will look at all those different ones, use the LLM to calculate who is closest, because as it's picking those locations, it's using the LLM to work out the longitude and latitude. Yes, it could hallucinate. I've actually found it's really accurate so far. So that's been a pleasant surprise from there. And it will connect those different agents together. Let's see. Oh, it was Portugal. Oh, I didn't think about Portugal. Yes, I thought it was going to be further east from that. So congratulations, Sarah, even though it wasn't actually Sarah who said that. I can't remember what Sarah said now. Sarah thought it was Geneva. So yes, Geneva got the closest answer to that one. Really, the game on this is not the key point. The point is to show how those different agents connect to each other from that. Tell me who won and their guess. Now, I didn't want to do it because I'm always nervous, but also within this, I've set those boundaries to say, make sure you never say what the location is until it is in the solved state. So here you can see, yeah, it's telling me that Sarah guessed Geneva from that. So it's giving you that flexibility that you wouldn't have with an app from there. Okay, let's come back to the slides from there. So again, let's think about how this scales across an organization, as well as just connecting those agents together. What happens when you have tens, hundreds, thousands of agents, some which are connected together, some which aren't from there? And I think one of the dilemmas I've seen from a lot of people, a lot of solution architects, a lot of others, is how do you decide on reuse of an agent on there? So if we look, say, at that photo selection agent, maybe you also want an agent that helps you pick a photo for somewhere in the world for your presentations, or maybe your marketing material. I would say look at your licensing before you do that. But let's say you wanted to pick up with that. You might want to reuse that photo selection agent. The problem, I say, that managing those agents, managing the kind of version of that, can get a little tricky. So a few things I would say. Think about tools over agents. Think about those MCP servers, your APIs that you're providing, even your knowledge that you're setting up for your environment that people can reuse, because you can manage those. Especially if you're using the Azure API Manager to manage your MCPs, you can have different versions in the same way as you manage your APIs. Hopefully, you can do a similar thing with that for your MCP servers at scale. You can manage those within Microsoft. I'm not covering too much of Agent 365 today, but there's some different elements within that as well. So think about your tools as your elements of reuse far more than specific agents within that. There will be sometimes it makes sense to reuse agents, but I think doing more with your tools becomes an easier way to manage that as well. Going back to where we were thinking about those different people creating agents, think about your skills and community. How many end users have you got creating agents? How have you enabled those to become power users? Think about all those skills we've had with Power Platform over the years to kind of bring people together to help them within that. And think about the communities within that, supporting them to help each other, to share good ideas, to share questions and answer questions themselves. Don't become a kind of single hub that will create and answer everything. Think about how you can enable others to do that. And that's from end user, power user, and those specialists. Give those people the training, the assets to recreate as much as possible to enable them. and then connect that with your governance and monitoring. So give people the skills, the capability to build things themselves, but also consider within that how you're going to manage that as well, how you're going to contain and make sure that someone creating a personal single, that status report, that doesn't get used by the whole organization when only they own it, and either they leave or they go, oh, I might tweak this, and suddenly everyone's status report looks wrong from there. So think about how you're going to maintain that scalable governance. Think about what tools you need in your toolbox, what you need to get started. And why it's not just Copilot Studio. Microsoft is loving Copilot Studio. I think it's a fantastic tool. I love the story, but there are other options. I've already showed Microsoft Foundry within that. So some of the differences, think about the features and limitations, where you can deploy it easily, what models are available, that you can get a lot more of the model sizes within Foundry. Think about the volumes of files. So things like Azure AI Search can be used either with Copilot Studio or with Foundry. And think about the integrations with Copilot Studio. You've got those pre-built integrations. We're seeing the latest Microsoft Foundry start to make it a little bit easier to connect to other things, but as I found recently, not that easy yet. So making it easy for people to connect to other things becomes key for that. You need to think about your cost and licensing. So do you want to use message packs as you would with Copilot Studio within there, that you can kind of connect to things a lot more easily? Think about how you can, oh no, that's the next one. Think about how this is going to get to people as well. So where your cost, your licensing, how you can scale up that cost, how you can measure your return on investment within that, all links that delivery model. Think about those different developer types. Do you have people who could build those specialist agents? If not, don't try and talk about Foundry yet within there. Think about your architecture and integration. Think about, do you have Azure already? Are you thinking about AWS? How are those going to get used? To think about those reusable tools and aligning to the existing skills you have within there. If you're an AWS shop, think about that. Don't suddenly go, right, let's roll out Foundry. I'm guessing if you're listening to this, you're hopefully more Microsoft aligned, but there's a lot to go within there. And then think about how you're going to govern those use of the models. Which ones do you feel comfortable with? Are you happy people using DeepSeek and Grok? Considering those and controlling that, making sure you have the observability of what people are doing in there. And a lot of people talk about Studio and Foundry. I would say don't forget those declarative agents with the agents toolkit. Check those out. It's a bit of JSON. It's not no or low code. It does involve a little bit of thinking, but not too much within there. So it's a beautiful bridge towards the full pro code, kind of Python agent framework, C# style agents on there. Declarative agents are a lovely way of still having that control of deployment on things as well. So worth checking out. Think about your scalable governance. I kind of touched on this a little bit already. For building an agent, for me, at what point does it come for a team? I want to be flexible. I want to enable people to build agents in a safe way that they can use. It's why I've loved SharePoint for years, why I've loved Power Platform, is because we can pass these things over to people to do things on there. But as they start to become more important to the business, to the team, to other people, you need to bring a bit more governance and control. So work out how you're going to identify that. Is it where it's being shared a lot of times? Is it where it's being used a certain amounts within there? Work out how you're going to monitor that and what your process is to educate people in doing this. Don't just say, sorry, you've got to stop using that. We're going to control it now. You've got to join the queue and wait 6 months for it. That's just going to put people off and they're going to try and do other things and work around it. Think about how you can scale that governance effectively and with engaging the people to be able to do the right thing. I love it. Scott Guthrie always talks about helping people to fall into the right bucket. Help people do that. And I'm stupidly running out of time, so I can't spend too long on this, but think about outside of Microsoft. There's three key ways of doing that. One is your connectors and tools. So you can connect to other systems, whether it's Workday, ServiceNow, Salesforce, or even your own, whether it's cloud hosted systems that you've built or on-premises ones. You can still build connectors to that to make the most of your information. Think about connecting those agents, and that's not just ones you've built within the Microsoft ecosystem. You can now, with the A2A, what's the word? Not framework, but policy. My brain's suddenly gone dead on that one. But you can define how you connect to things like agents in Workday. You can connect to ServiceNow and make them appear within your same world. So you can still have Microsoft as front end, connect to those different things. And think about how Microsoft with Entra ID, you can actually manage these other agents. So you know what they're connecting to, you know what they're doing, and you'll know that you have those same monitoring, those purview, compliance controls, and other elements there can all be managed by the Microsoft stack to connect to those other agents and bring you that same capabilities. So do not just exclude something because it's a non-Microsoft agent. Think about how you can bring those and manage those in the same way. It's worth noting that Workday can actually manage agents within Microsoft as well. Onto the final slide, Marcel. I can see my Oscar music coming up. So in summary, think about those building blocks of a single agent. Think about how your agents are going to work together. Think about how once you start to get all these agents, how you're going to govern and manage those, and how you're going to provide that layer of tools and technology to enable the right people to be able to build these. And hopefully it's as many as possible within there. Thank you very much for that day. Thank you to Marcel and team for putting on this fabulous virtual conference on there. I've been Kevin McDonald. Please do connect to me on social. And otherwise, I guess, have we got time to open up for a few questions?
Yeah, I have one question. So this is more regarding to ethics, I think. So how do you design decision boundaries so agents know when to escalate to humans? So this is, I think, an interesting question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you again, it's mostly within your instructions, defining that. If you've got multi-agent, I usually try and build that into the orchestrator of saying, if you are sensing some frustration from the user, then please make sure there's a path to escalate to humans. Even if it's a case, you don't necessarily kind of link directly to teams in all cases. I know Copilot Studio has a fabulous way of connecting in with different systems and bringing that chat directly to a human. But just make sure you're educating people of saying, sorry, I can't answer that. You might want to raise a ticket or email this thing or speak to this person. So at least they know, even if you haven't got that full automation within there. Don't let that kind of lack of connection stop you from doing that. Make sure you've built in the instructions, those boundaries that where you want it to. A great example, I've got a few HR policy agents that we talk about. We never have those answer questions on sensitive subjects. They are always put in there and said, we would like to connect you to them there. Sometimes we ask them to supply some information. So when that ticket's raised, it's got some of the history, but it must never provide advice on there because you don't know the control on that. That always has to go to a human. So building that within the instructions, and then testing it, doing that red teaming, setting up those evaluations so you test it, especially if you're using Copilot Studio ones where the model may change. Make sure you're regularly testing that as part of your process.
I thank you. I think it was an amazing session. A lot of, I would say, topics combined to a great overview about the anatomy of agents. Perfect. So I thank you. I hope we see us again soon. So the next expert session is with Ragnar Hyatt, I think in nearly 2 minutes. This topic is Copilot agents with MCP servers, the good, the bad, and the ugly. See you soon, Kevin. Have a nice day.
Thanks very much, and good luck, Ragnar.
And here with me in the studio is Ragnar Heil. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much.
The topic today is Copilot agents with MCP servers, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The stage is yours. Have fun.
Thank you so much. Hey, hello everyone. Thank you so much here for joining this wonderful conference, M365 Con. I do highly appreciate what Marcella and the team is organizing. I've started exploring MCP servers actually when they were released around November 2024, and now I'm very fascinated with MCP servers. I spent a lot of time building them into my agents, using Copilot Studio, using other tools. But here I would also like not only to evangelize how much value they're offering, I would also go into the more critical parts around security, compliance, and governance, because there are some ugly and bad parts included. My name is Ragnar Heil. I work at Hans Vision, which is part of Bechtle, as a senior business development manager. So I'm jumping every day between a business development role. I work with the sales team closely with marketing. I'm a corporate influencer. And then I jump into the principal consultant role and deliver Copilot Studio workshops for my customers. Maybe, I don't know, how old are you when you're now watching this live stream? There was a very nice Western movie a long time ago. It's called The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly with Clint Eastwood. And now I'm going to bring you into this raw, unplugged session where we're not only talking about everything is beautiful about MCP servers, everything is beautiful. So we are looking into the more detailed things which can go wrong to make you a little bit of risk aware what could happen. Let's talk about the new frontier. There's also a nice topic around Western movies, the new frontier. So we have a lot of American language here. MCP is actually so helpful. Let me just explain for you the value of MCP servers. In the past, when I was going into a longer weekend with my wife, I was going into a travel agency. And in this travel agency, I was just telling, listen, I need a weekend in, let's say, Barcelona. Please book me a flight from Frankfurt to Barcelona. Please also go and book me 2 hotel nights. Please make a dinner reservation for the first evening. And then I need a musical or rock concert for the second evening. And then I got one invoice. I got everything from one single contact person at the travel agency. Now we are thinking that we are so extremely smart because we have got our smartphones here, and we have got so many apps, and we've got a dedicated app for flight booking, an app for hotel booking, for dinner table reservations, and for event booking, and for everything around navigation. So it looks very digital and very sophisticated, but actually it's not a really progress, because in the past, one person, one travel agency, and everything from one person. And that's where MCP servers are also providing extra value, because you can do many different activities in one single prompt, using one single standardized protocol, which I would call or others are also calling it the USB-C stick, or the USB-C a connection for your agents. So it's very easy to connect MCP servers. It's so easy, like USB-C standard. So a lot of opportunity. It's incredible. It's very fascinating, but also a high risk, what I'm going to talk. So it looks definitely like the Wild West, lawless and gold rush combined. Yeah, so I will walk you through all the parts. Let's start with the good, then go into the bad and ugly, and leave you then with the action plan. So 95% of the Fortune 500 companies are investing into the Azure ecosystem. So Microsoft is going all in, and Microsoft is investing heavily into the MCP protocol. So we're seeing it now in Microsoft Foundry. We see it in Copilot Studio. We see it now in the agent flows as well. So it's going to be like everywhere. And here, short history, it was a created MCP protocol, model context protocol, created in November 24 by Anthropic. Now, a few weeks ago, I think something around mid of December, it was moved to the Linux organization and is not longer a property only of Anthropic, which have built Claude Desktop and Claude Code and others. The biggest problem around integration is that in the past, before we had MCP, we had so many integrations to maintain, so many different tools and so many different connections and primary official connectors for Microsoft, native connectors, third-party connectors from really good partners from Microsoft, our own connectors, which we are building for our customers and our workshops. And that's a huge effort, a huge invest to maintain all these different integrations. And if you go with MCP, you just have less MCP servers to care about, because they keep, they update by themselves. You don't need to update the code in your custom connectors. You just integrate your MCP server of your choice, which can be something like Google Maps or maybe Stripe or PayPal or Atlassian, Jira, SAP, Zendesk, ServiceNow, all these typical line of business applications. So you spend less time maintaining the source code, maintaining your connectors, because you're working with a standard protocol called MCP. So one protocol, universal access. So it's integrated in Copilot Studio, in the Power Platform connectors. You can run your own MCP servers in Azure, but you can also use an existing MCP server. And in Copilot Studio, it is usually part of tools. And I've got something very exciting to share with you right now. It is not only part of tools where you might expect to see it. It's now also moved to a new place. So let me just here start from the scratch. This is Copilot Studio. Here there is just a very, very simple agent. And in the past we had here tools, or so we still have tools, not in the past. So we still have tools. And if you add a new tool, you have got here Model Context Protocol, and you've got a lot of choices. I did not count them, but there are many MCP servers like Zapier or Word, Outlook, Teams, OneDrive, Dataverse, also some other non-Microsoft ones like Jira, like Box, like Celonis, Databricks, Morningstar. So it's growing and growing and growing. And here, that was the part where this was the only part in Copilot Studio where we could enter and add MCP servers using the tools. This is very powerful, and it's more powerful than working with knowledge, because you maybe also know how to work with knowledge. So here you can, for example, if we talk about Atlassian, here you can also add Confluence, but then you would build a retrieval agent which reads out knowledge from Confluence, like wiki pages, like knowledge pages. So you would read out from Confluence. It's important. It's very useful. A lot of customers for mine like it, because you read out knowledge. But MCP is just more powerful, because you're moving into the tool section, and there you would go. Let's say in the Atlassian family, and we would talk about Jira. Here you would definitely see a more powerful MCP integration, because you can do actions here, like not only adding and creating a support ticket. You can also do, you can create accounts, you can create projects, but you can also do things like deleting a project, deleting a ticket, updating a ticket. And that's something where you need a conversation in your company, if MCP servers are fine for you, or if they are just too powerful. Because it can be that they listen, we want this integration. We want integration with Atlassian and others, but please only make sure that we can read out and not update and delete user profiles, accounts, tickets, projects, whatever objects you have. And that's the same conversation for CRM. A lot of customers want agents who read out CRM information, but these autonomous agents should not be able to delete accounts, to delete opportunities, to delete contacts. So here we need a strong conversation, and in Copilot Studio, you can also configure it. So when I'm here in Copilot Studio, there are tools, and here you can go deeper and say, listen, this MCP integration can create issues, but it should not do other things. In this case, it can only list issues and list projects, but in theory, it could be that in the next version, it can also delete projects and delete issues. So here it's a little bit easier because it can only read out and list things, but in the future it can be more powerful. So my recommendation is to work with tokens actually, because in the token part of Atlassian, you can create an API token with a scope, and if you create a token with a scope, then you are able really to, let me just pick a date. If you are, I'm searching now for the continue button. Something is currently, that's interesting. My submit button, yeah, here. It was, so here I'm going into Jira, and that's one of the things, what I strongly recommend is you have a granularity about 359 items. So you can say, listen, my token, which I'm using in Copilot Studio in my agent, can only read out tickets. It cannot delete something. It cannot update projects. It can only delete. So here you will go very, very deep into these actions and say, listen, I'm only going to allow all the delete actions and not allowing everything around other things like writing, updating, and deleting. So that's very important that you have great integration on the Atlassian side. You can use OAuth to 0, but also you working with API tokens. So that's number one. The other integration, which is very new, that this is now currently in private preview, but we are here to share you the latest and greatest, is that we now finally have also an MCP integration, not only in the tool section of your agents, we also have it now in flows. So here you're able to create a new agent flow with this Power Automate style. And here you can start with the manual, Here you can start with the manual trigger. And then after the trigger, you are able to add, this is very new, it's in preview, an MCP for Dataverse, Azure Data Explorer, Outlook, GitHub, and others. So this is very new. So here I would just search for MCP. And then you have these things called Outlook with contact management, email management, meeting management. And that's powerful because you can create an agent which can automatically approve a meeting invitation or decline a meeting invitation, send out an email, answer an email, create a new contact in Outlook, and so on. So that's very powerful and that's very new. And maybe you're asking now, how can I get it? How do I get access to this preview? And you need to go into Power Platform. You need to go into your environments. You need to go and create a new environment, and you need to go into new early features. So give it a name, and then choose for this new features. I'm always choosing the US, and then get new features early. I'm going to work in a developer environment. I'm adding Dataverse here, and I think that's all. A developer or sandbox US and get new features, and then you are able to work with the new agent flow MCP. So that's brand new. I just heard it like 2 days ago, and I'm very happy that I can share it with you immediately. Okay, let's jump back to the other parts, which is great. So we have, with its built-in MCP servers, a nice mixture of Microsoft ecosystem like Dynamics, SharePoint, Teams, Exchange, but we also have others like GitHub, Box. So it's growing and growing, and there will be more and more MCP servers natively integrated from Microsoft. So the big value is it's automatically updated, no custom a code which you need to touch every week or every month. That's great. Version management is included. So you definitely save time here and everything around keeping everything updated and maintaining your connectors. Real-time access, that's always great. Direct access to all these applications. And then enterprise build is there. You've got a DLP there, OAuth or API token keys, as I mentioned, firewall, GDPR compliance, but you need to check every single MCP into integration. There is no thing like every MCP server is GDPR compliant. So it is. So there are some security build-ins, but I will also talk about the bad and the ugly around security. But if you're using OAuth 2.0, then you have one major thing built in, which is very important. If we talk about the new agents coming from Microsoft, like the employee self-service agent, which you can use to create a travel request or PTO, time off, vacation request, then these agents are also using MCP servers. So it's not only that you can use MCP for your own custom agents, also the new generation of agents are using MCP server here. So at the end, in the past, you had maybe 50 custom integrations, a lot of maintaining work, authentication issues, monitoring work, and now it's getting much easier. You can monitor them in Power Platform Admin Center, but also in Azure API management, where you can also see what's happening on the API side. So we are going to see many more integrations and also in PureView, data security posture management, and also in the Agents 365 in M365 Admin Center. Human in the loop is very important. So it's so crucial that we always not only work with autonomous agents, we need people who are receiving a draft email or a draft something and then finalizing and submitting it. So MCP also works with this human in the loop thing, because most of my customers, they don't want autonomous agents. They want autonomous agents. And that's where we need human in the loop with MCP agents. So to summarize it, we have now a global standard. It's always auto updating. There is enterprise security embedded, managed identities, OAuth, human in the loop, real-time information. So it's a faster time to value. You can build your agents faster than in the past. Full stop. That's the value. Now let's talk about the bad things. There are some challenges. So some tool descriptions, they don't have strong enrichment of metadata. So here we're missing some context in some MCP tools. Also topics here in Copilot Studio, they cannot talk with MCP directly. So if you're very strong in building topics in your agents, they can't talk to MCP. A little bit more technical stuff. I don't want to go deep here, but with their truncations issues with array types and others, some limitation tools with a hard cap. But in general, Microsoft is talking quite frankly about the limitations in the official Microsoft documentations. SSE was one way of integrating MCP servers. That's not since August. Deprecated. So now we are working with streamable HTTP. So in case you are already working with MCP, then you need to migrate from SSE to streamable HTTP transport. But that's something which is known since a long time. Authorization conflicts, that's a nice topic. OAuth 2.0 is very popular, but now the working group is working on OAuth 2.1 because of MCP, because there are some conflicts that sometimes you need to go with tokens and not with OAuth, and then you are moving away from your best practices standard, because since ages you are preaching that OAuth 2.0 is the best and we always need OAuth, but then you say, for this MCP, I need definitely tokens. Then you start building your token. You copy and paste the token into your MCP connection in Copilot Studio. But then you say, I don't have a token lifecycle management. I don't know when my token is expiring. I don't know who is currently owning the token. Token sprawl is a real thing. Maybe this token is going viral in my organization. So I have no idea how long they are valid, when do I need to update and refresh the token, who is currently owning the token, where is the token shared with everyone in the organization. So this thing called token flow, token sprawl is real. The other topic is a lot of companies are investing into Azure serverless, and MCP is more designed for Docker. So here you need to find a way how to host it. Maybe you want to stay with Docker, or you go into Azure containers and there work with MCP servers. But you need this conversation about hosting your MCP servers and where to host. And you need to talk about the pros and cons of serverless versus Docker and Azure containers. Yeah. Agent sprawl, I talked about it. That's a huge risk. That's one of the biggest risks, that you have this token sprawl and the agent sprawl. At the end, you've got too many agents and end users don't like it. An end user never asks, could I please have 50 agents? No, they just want maybe 5 or 10 agents, which are really working, which offer a lot of value, which solves their daily business challenges. But customers don't want 50 agents. And that's a big risk, that you're building too many agents. And then then you are creating an agent fatigue because the end users get too many agents and don't want to use them anymore. So make sure that you control the quality of the agent. The agent provides a lot of extra value, is not killing your IT budgets. It's not ruining your compliance and security, and also is working and not failing, because a lot of agents are working but failing on the last meters. So here we need to talk about scalability. Again, in general, governance is a huge topic. Cross-tenant, how do you work with agents around cross-tenant and MTO, multi-tenant organization, ownership, who's responsible for this agent, for this MCP server integration, who's responsible for token lifecycle management. A lot of new challenges. They can be managed, but they need to be addressed and discussed. And maybe it's a good time to invest into your agent steering committee who is talking about these topics, because the agent steering committee should approve new agents. And then they also talk about these topics like this life cycle and reducing agents when there are too many. OWASP is a website which I found who talks about the top 10 issues here. So owasp.org, you will find some issues. Let me pick the most dangerous one: prompt injection. So if an external cyber hacker goes into your machine through phishing, malware, Trojan hacking, then they could do prompt injections and read out a lot of information from a system through prompts. Command injection, so that the hacker is not only reading out and leaking data from your systems like CRM, but also running a command like delete all accounts or something, which is very dangerous. So everything around tool poisoning, supply chain attacks, session hijacking. So it can be very, very dirty. So make sure that you understand how things like prompt injection are working, because if you understand the chain, then you know in which part of the chain you need to control and implement something like a firewall or other kind of topics. Yeah, but it's going to be dangerous. So tool poisoning. WhatsApp is a very good example. There are WhatsApp MCP servers, and then it's installed, and then a malicious helper service is also added to the WhatsApp MCP, and then this helper server is poisoning all the messages and forwarding all the messages to another endpoint and really leaking everything what was written in WhatsApp. So this is daily. This happens, and also on GitHub. So don't start thinking about security and compliance when you're building your agent. Start really when you look into your MCP source, into your code, which you usually get from GitHub. So GitHub is full of MCP servers, but make sure to use tools like MCP Scan, which are free tools, and MCP Scan can check your GitHub repository, because if this repository is not secure, or the code is not trustful, or it's just dangerous, then don't touch this GitHub. Don't start with this. Don't build your agent using this GitHub repo. So the first thing is always check the repo using MCP Scan. And then if everything is great, then build your environment using Visual Studio Code or Copilot Studio, and then also check your environment with other tools, which are also called MCP Scan, which can scan your environment and your JSON configuration files. Yeah. So these issues are real. They are documented. There are real breaches which you can find on the internet. So if you Google or ChatGPT or Copilot this number, then you will find real breaches documented on the internet. It is real. So security is essential. It doesn't matter if we talk about GitHub things, code leaking, WhatsApp, everything. It is happening right now. It is real, and you need to start improving your processes, and therefore we need practical frameworks. Let me give you five phases here. Start with capturing the requirements. Talk with your stakeholders what they need, what they can offer. Define the KPIs for success for your agent with MCP. Talk with compliance about their minimum needs and maximum needs. Talk about guardrails, left and right guardrails, creating zones and environments, approval processes, and then go into the security part with role-based access controls, data loss prevention policies, and a release in certain gates and certain release waves. Test with test if you can find the needle in the haystack. So make some test cases which are dangerous, which are harmful to test if your protection guidelines, if they are working. So invest a lot of testing, and then when the project is launched and the agent is working and is running, then you need to monitor and audit your agent using Defender, using PureView, using MC5 agents. So it is important to audit them. Also talk to third-party vendors about it. I'm talking personally with every governance tool. Currently, Rancor is here shining around agent governance. Please come back to me, and I'm more than happy to show you how we can monitor, audit these agents using a third-party governance tool. So a checklist, make an allow list, a whitelist for MCP servers. Talk about also the opposite, a blacklist of MCP servers. Talk about how you can enable audit logging. Talk about a least privilege access, input validation, who is the human in the loop, and where in my agent is the human in the loop. Throttling limitations, proxies, and dependencies. So that's a nice checklist, but don't lock MCP down. MCP is so powerful. It's such a major shift in agents that you should not just prevent it. We need guardrails. We need left and right guardrails, managed environments, DLP policies, Center of Excellence and Copilot Studio. We need them, but just shutting down would frustrate your developers, would frustrate your power AI users, because it's just too powerful and too fascinating to just lock it down. So the MCP servers is recommended when APIs are always changing, because you're just using this USB-C thing, and you don't have to care about changing APIs. You don't need to update your custom connector. It's great for multi-agent orchestration. We have some master agent which is orchestrating maybe 3 or 5 or 10 sub-agent, also possible in Copilot Studio. There's a centralized tool management. In real time, it can access the data of your sources like a CRM. And a connector is useful when you're not allowed to use APIs. A connector can be used when you're not allowed to use MCP servers, or there is an existing one where listen, this connector works great. I don't need to go to MCP because it just does what we need. There is no need to go into MCP. And direct APIs, this is also good for prototyping, but you need a lot of experience with working with APIs. So it can definitely take much longer. I was like, I think last week, I was building with Lovable an application for my Jira tickets. And it took me like 10 minutes. And then the app was working in Lovable, where I can really go into my tickets, search for tickets, update tickets. It's just crazy. It is not possible with direct APIs to build a mobile app or a web app where you have a nice front end, a nice app, and you can list your tickets, you can update them and create new tickets. It's just crazy how fast it is. Yeah, keep with you. MCP is powerful. It's the future of integration with agents. Security is a must. Governance is a must. So work with MCPs, but with eyes wide open. Here I've got some resources. I'm not going to read all the URLs. Please come back to me. I have a Medium publication at medium.com/mcp-server. I'm more than happy if you would write there. I'm going to approve your blog post. So let's learn together, share together about our experiences with MCP servers. There is a QR code which points you to my meeting link, but also into our Hanse Vision landing page for governance. Talk to me. Maybe we can find also free workshops from Microsoft, because we at Hanse Vision Bechtle, we have a lot of free workshops available for you. So talk to us. Maybe we can find a nice Copilot Studio workshop for you where we talk about security, governance, and compliance for your agents. And Microsoft would pay it, and it's free for you. So please use the scan and set up a meeting with me. Yeah, that's from my side. More than happy to answer your questions, but let's have a conversation right now.
Yeah, well, there's a question from YouTube. Why use MCP? Why not use Power Automate and custom connectors?
It's just you just get everything. It depends on your scope. So some MCP servers, they have like 10 comments, and comments are like a Swiss knife. So there are Swiss knives with 10 different tools. You know, like opening your wine bottle and scissors, and sometimes you're just happy with this 10 tools. Other MCP servers, they have like 20 tools. So if you're happy with this chosen amount of tools, if you say, listen, that's exactly what we need, then don't invest time into coding. You only need to invest time with coding, with direct APIs, if this amount of tools is not what you need. Because if the MCP tools just do what you need, then don't waste any time. That's an easy question. So it's all about, number one, saving time in developing your agent. Number two, you don't need to update your custom code and your custom connector, because the MCP is going to update for you. And number three, faster value to market. You make your customer happy or your stakeholder happy, because you can deploy your first prototype of your agent in 2 days and not in 2 weeks. I think that's the easiest answer.
And I would add, regarding to Power Automate, the MCP connector actions are still where. So why you
Power
need
Automate,
a custom
exactly, yeah.
connector? For example, for Outlook, there's an MCP connector or connection set. Yeah. So that's why I create a custom connector. So my biggest nightmares I had in customer projects was with custom connector. So that's why I said I do everything to create no custom connection. So, but
for example, I just showed you 20 minutes ago. I showed you the brand new flows, which have now MCP, and flows is actually Power Automate. So flows in Copilot Studio is actually Power Automate, just renamed to flows, and there is the MCP integration. So you can just work with these flows in Copilot Studio using MCP servers, and then you need to give an instruction, because you pick an MCP server called email management or contact management or meeting management in Exchange Online. And then you write a custom instruction. This can be natural language in this custom instruction. If this does not work for some reason, then you need to go really deep into Power Automate, where you would move away from natural language queries into really a powerful code. So for me, it's like starting first with Copilot Studio with this new flows agent. Use MCP. If it's working, you're happy. If it doesn't work, then you need to go deeper into Power Automate and really build it more sophisticated and more advanced. But start simpler. That's the message here.
And the last hint for me, so we had a session with Kent Ware. He's a product manager from Logic Apps. It's integrated Logic Apps too. So if you don't want to build this up with Power Automate, you have three possibilities: Copilot Studio, or four. Azure, you can work with Azure AI Foundry, with Copilot Studio, with Logic Apps, and with Power Automate, and you can choose what you want. So I think it's really, really amazing the possibilities that are still there. So, but whereas a second question from Mahmoud, this is Mahmoud, sorry. Interesting to explore dynamic confidence thresholds where the agent adjusts how cautious it is depending on the data source quality or MCP server reliability. I think this is only and thank you to you. So, but I have a question. So I know you are the godfather of governance, and so if I would say a company head or a CTO comes to you and said, what governance controls are essential before MCP enables or NGP agents can go live? So what would you say to him?
Yeah, I think the most important conversation, what we always need is with which tools can we access our data sources? Let's say, for example, the data source would be a CRM, would be SAP, or an ERP system, or an IT ticket management system. What should it do? So what are the limitations? Usually my customer says, listen, we want it, but we just want to read out. So our agent is reading out IT support management tickets. And the other agent is maybe reading out opportunities from our CRM. So that's what customers want. And then the important thing is that we can say, listen, we are building out a retrieval agent to read out sales opportunities, to read our tickets, and then we just build this agent, which is of course limited because it can only read. But this is generating trust. So the first step, the first phase is always start simple with a retrieval agent which can only read. And then when you have experiences with MCP, maybe 2 months or 3 months later, you can start the next phase. Maybe you're working with updating tickets, but only updating tickets, not deleting projects, not deleting users, updating tickets. So really go from step to step to step and creating trust and confidence and experience that you know how to monitor, that you know how to audit agents, but don't start too powerful and too aggressive with, okay, I'm going to create a master token in Atlassian, and then with this master token, it can do everything. Like it can delete every single object in Atlassian. that would be the worst case. Because this master token can be misused by this token can go viral, token sprawl, and it can damage many things. So you need to start to create trust and create more experiences with MCP servers.
It's
And as I mentioned, involve everybody. So involve the admins, involve the head of IT, talk to compliance people, talk to data protection officers, CISO, involve many people, and so that everybody who has some stakes in this topic, in this agent topic, is somehow involved. But start with the simplest agent, which is a reading out only retrieval agent.
I think this is a little bit of a restructure. So I saw a lot of discussions on LinkedIn regarding to is the Center of Excellence with a starter kit, I mean, still alive, or will it change massively? But I think it must be changed massive, because it's all the things are more MCP related, more Copilot Studio related. So we got so many sessions regarding to Copilot Studio, because it's up and coming. But it's like ever been in the Microsoft world. So the governance comes one step later, not before. And and now I think it's important, like you say, to not only have the IT involved in process like that, all who are involved in process steps with agents must come to an Center of Excellence or in governance board or something like else. And this is not a technical part, so it's a little bit technical part, but it's more an organization part to make this or bring this to life. I would say this is the right sentence. Yeah. But
my main recommendation would be here to use this five-phase governance model. I think that's currently the best approach. What I found, what I've built, what I'm using with my customers. So that's my main recommendation here. It should be easy, and 5 steps and 5 phases are easy to consume, and the most important points are just covered. Yeah. So I think this is the best words for the end. So I think this was an amazing session. Thank you so much, Marcel. Really big insights and a really good overview. I want to thank you. I hope we see us this year again. And awesome. The next session will be Vario with building a robust Copilot Studio strategy. I want to thank you and have a nice day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks. 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our knowledge hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our knowledge hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together. The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action. Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building the solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con. Today our Copilot and Copilot Studio stage is Vario. A warm welcome to you. The topic today is building a robust Copilot Studio strategy. The stage is yours. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you, Marcel. Can you hear me? Well, good.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you for the quick intro. Today we are going to talk a little bit about Copilot Studio strategy, why it's important, and how to set up a foundational strategy that will give you an advantage in adopting this Copilot Studio agent. So let me see here. My name is Wario. I'm a founder and lead solution architect at Haki Solutions, and we deliver AI agents, AI agent strategy, and most of all, governance, which is very important. If you want to connect and ask any questions, just feel free to drop them wherever you want, if it's on the YouTube videos or LinkedIn. So today's enterprise challenge is quite clear. 80% of AI projects fail. And this is from Gartner 2025, and 20% succeed. But one important thing is that 70% of these projects or the challenge is governance that is the issue. So the governance comes as an issue because what I've seen based on experience is that agents start getting built without having initial governance. So I've been involved with customers where agents after 6 months have to be scrapped because they do not respect the EU data boundary or other compliance rules in their regulated environments. So this is important. And also something which is even far more important is building a center of excellence. I usually prefer center of enablement. And this, as Microsoft did research in 2024, shows that businesses that establish a way of controlling agents, or not controlling, but enabling them, have 3.7% accelerated value of the agents that they create. But this comes with, this balance that you see here. You have to find out if you will be balancing your innovation and your governance, because there is a lot of things happening. There is new features every day in Copilot Studio, especially. There is a lot of vulnerabilities out there. It's prompt injections, it's tool poisoning. You decide what you want to focus on, but again, we have to think about the risks, and we also have to think about the data, because once your data is lost, then it breaks a lot of laws usually. So we need to, as a company, you have to decide where the balance is, and this is what we are going to discuss a little bit. So quick intro to agents and my friend Dennis, who will be following throughout this presentation. So what are agents? Agents in the Microsoft sphere. This is just a simple overview. You have a deep dive on the AI strategy page from Microsoft, but for now, let's focus on Copilot for the end users. Let me take this pointer. So Copilot for the end users, where you can build in I don't know, Copilot Studio Lite or Agent Builder for now, but that name changed a lot. But yeah, the Agent Builder. So you have the SharePoint agents, and they live in SharePoint and they're stored there, managed from there. And then you have the Copilot Studio agents. These are the agents that a custom engine. You can choose your model. You can choose if you want to upload files. You can change your authentication, and you can extend them with SDKs. And then you have the full-blown agents, which are fully pro-code, that use the agent toolkit. And you can also do this, of course, in Copilot Studio. So let me introduce Dennis. Dennis has created a complex Copilot Studio agent. He wants to quickly build this agent because it solves a repetitive task for him. What he wants is posting it to Teams. He wants to publish it to Teams, M365 Copilot, and SharePoint. He also wants to use sensitive data that is stored in SharePoint. He also wants to use a model from AI Foundry and an MCP server to get information from an external system. In his organization, he finds the Power Platform page where all the environment descriptions, DLPs are there, and he doesn't find Copilot Studio there. So what does he do? He wants access to Copilot Studio. He goes to Dalia, the Power Platform admin. So Dalia, as the Power Platform admin, has to give Dennis the access to Copilot Studio. How does she do this? In a structured way. This is an important part of your Copilot Studio strategy because it all starts with your environment strategy. So once you decide an environment strategy, it will affect your DLP strategy, it will affect your licensing strategy, and it will also affect how you share these agents. So let's look at environment strategy and how to approach agents in Copilot Studio. So I've been to many organizations. I used to work as a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, and in that role, I got the honor to visit a lot of big enterprises, and I saw a lot of setups. But here are some setups that usually appear. You have the companies that empower everyone. They give everyone the license, and they let everyone build. They set up guidelines and policies. This, of course, is very dependent on the company having resources to upskill everyone, having financial resources, because it's not cheap giving everyone Copilot licenses, unless you are a very small company, of course. But this is one of the ways of doing it. You will get a lot of innovation with a lot of cost. And sometimes, is it meaningful innovation? Is it not meaningful? This has to be decided by whoever is building it and the business. On the other hand, we have the organization-led solutions. This is what I see mostly in the customers I had in especially Northern Europe, where the central IT gatekeeps, not gatekeeps, but makes sure that almost each solution comes into them. They decide if the solution is good enough. Is it a business scenario? They have resources to actually build the agent. How is the architecture with the resources they have now, and which extensibility path they should choose based on some internal matrix that they have. And this goes back to the environment strategy. Where does it live in your environment strategy? So these are organizational-led solutions. But for me, I have a combination which I've seen work very well. And this is the hybrid solution, where you have both of these combined. And on some level, you let the makers decide on what to build in controlled structures. But this will be, let's say, if a department is far ahead of other departments and they need the licenses, they need to build the agents, you just give them the ability to do this, while the rest of the environments or the departments that are not that interested in the agents can use the org-led solutions, where there is some gatekeeping, takes some time, but also it's clear guardrails and IT controls everything. But back to what this is all about. It's all about risk. So if we look at the simple agent builder agents that connect to, they're usually retrieval agents that connect to OneDrive, they connect to SharePoint or some upload files. Of course, uploading files brings a lot of it brings a lot of security risks that has to be mitigated by, for example, using sensitivity labels. But for now, these are simple agents. And from there, we look at the personal use agents. So these agents, they're usually saved in a sandbox, saved in a sandbox where you build the agent for yourself and you use it yourself. You own the responsibility of the agent. So you're not going to use any ALM. It's usually a personal developer environment or in a shared environment, where if managed environments, of course, is not there, in a shared environment where sharing is not allowed, and sometimes even publishing not allowed, but that is organization specific. But if we look at this, you can see that personal use agents, they will be for yourself. And then we have the business-wide agents. This will be the agents that solve a business problem that makes this agent available to many users. So you will have, for example, Azure capability. You will have IT being responsible for this at the end because it has to be pushed through the ALM pipeline, application lifecycle management. So you move from dev to test and to production. So this is the red zone. And we will see in an example from a customer I had back in the days, how they set this up for their specific organization. So ideal setup from Microsoft. This is how it used to be. Back in the days when I started building stuff in Power Platform, default environment was the go-to place. I could build whatever I want in there. There was, of course, some strict DLP policies. But again, we are moving away from this into more personal productivity environment groups. So a maker tries to access Copilot Studio. They get routed to their own personal developer environment and this environment gets spinned up in the background the first time the user tries to access Copilot Studio. And by using rules, you can move this into an environment group, which is called personal productivity group. One thing that has to be in place here is managed environments. And we'll discuss later in the licensing how you can use this for Copilot Studio. However, you do have the rules here that are really good to control the features that are available in the environment group. So that is for personal productivity. We cover the first part of the risk by giving everyone their own personal productivity environment. On the other hand, you have the departmental productivity environment group. This will be also dependent on your organizational strategy because this is ideal from Microsoft, but each organization I have been to has their own constraints. They have their own setups that already work. So we have to find a way around how to make it work with their constraints. So the rules will always save you. You can, what is usually recommended in this personal developer environment is turning off Copilot sharing, no autonomous agents. The agents have to be, they cannot be triggered or run by themselves. On the other hand, this will vary depending on the appetite of the organization when it comes to risk. So that's quite important to mention here. But again, our friend Dennis is still stuck because he went to the Power Platform admin. He got the access to the environment and the environment maker role. But my friend cannot build anything because he doesn't still have access to Copilot Studio. And this also comes with extra access requirements. You need a Copilot Studio trial license. This will give you access to build agents, and you can build them, but you cannot publish them according to Microsoft documentation. I've tried some stuff, combined it with the others group. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but this is something you can try and see. I don't know if it's strict from Microsoft, but at least you need a license to be able to publish. So that is one license. And if you remember, Dennis ordered this Copilot capacity pack, credit capacity pack, and this is the tenant license. So once you buy this, you get 25,000 Copilot credits, and you can order as many Copilot Studio user licenses as you want, and you will get access to all the channels. So this is important, every single channel. And this is important because sometimes you have this license, which is the M365 Copilot license, which gives you access to Copilot Studio, but publishing is only constrained to the M365 experiences. So you can find sometimes users will try to publish their agent to let's say a custom website, and they have this license and this doesn't work, then it's because they need the user license, not the M365 Copilot license. So who did he get the access from? These two guys, the M365 admin and the Power Platform admin. The reason I'm showing this is because I will share my thoughts about all these admins at the end. So stay and you will see how many admins will be involved in this strategy. So this is one of the customers I work with, and this is their current strategy because they decided, let's build personal developer environments outside of using using environment routing for Copilot Studio only. So these are the features. You can actually use Copilot Studio features in managed environments. And then they needed to, because the organization usually has some users with M365 Copilot license. And their question was, what do we do with them? Because they have access to AI prompts. There's a lot of things included in their per user license that costs $30. And we had to create a single environment for them where we had strict policies, but again, we let them build in a constrained way where they have AI prompts, they have everything, but we now have them in a group, in an environment where they can test the personal productivity and build agents for themselves. And then we have the usual department maker environments where each department gets their own set of environments. And one important thing, this customer decided to go with Copilot Studio specific environments because they decided that you get some allocation when you buy the license. You get some Dataverse capacity. You also get some file capacity and log. So they decided to use this. And this saved them a lot of time because when it comes to licensing, the departments will be the ones who get if they use 26,000 licenses, they will get their costs sent to them. On the other hand, they decided that special applications will have their own environments so that risk is isolated. And this will be project-based. And there you have to create your own organizational matrix on how to decide which agents are critical and which are not. And this environment, which was quite special, is a Power Platform owned environment where they actually built their own agents and tested all the new features before rolling them out to the rest of the organization and decided on what was the level of risk for the different features. Let's look at DLPs. So Dennis got access now, he got the license, and he needs one more thing. He needs some connectors. And he's stuck now because he needs the connectors. So Dalia, again, the Power Platform admin, has to go into their admin center, decide which one of these connectors are going to be available in their. These are actually virtual connectors, and she has to decide when they are available and which environments have them. So the first one here is sometimes confused by a lot of my customers. This is how it's the event triggers. So you turn off autonomous agents by turning this off, basically. And I will not go through all of them, but these two here I've seen being used in very regulated sectors where you are not allowed to use public websites, but you have some websites that are crucial for the organization. So they whitelist those websites and then deny all the other websites. You can do that for SharePoint and public websites. This is important because if you want to have granular control, you will be able to do that in the endpoint filtering. And then we have this cool connector, advanced connector policies. These are kind of the next generation of connectors because they give you more, even deeper access. If we look at this, before I even continue, this needs managed environments because you will be working in the rules, in the environment groups. And from there, you have to decide. Let's take, for example, this Dataverse connector here. What can we do with it? We can decide to turn off delete a row if for some reason this regulated environment or regulated sector doesn't allow users to delete stuff in the environment. Then you can turn off all the deleted. You can set it up so that the rows never get deleted. So this is some way to have granularity, which works very well. One thing I have to mention here, because this is back to Power Platform again, and each time you create a new environment, it is very recommended that you have an Azure AD, Entra ID security group or Microsoft 365 security group, because if you don't, then all these users with valid licenses, they will be enabled and in that environment. So this is kind of how you control access to the environment. So make sure you use this in your Copilot Studio strategy and take care of it. And The next thing is one of the most discussed things, at least in the EU, where the customers always ask, what does this mean? What does move data across regions mean for me? What does Bing search mean? What does M365 services mean? Simple. Move data across regions will, you have the Azure OpenAI instance, AI services that work in Azure. If, let's say, I'm in Norway East, I'm based in Oslo, and for some reason, there is not enough capacity to do this generative AI things that I need in Norway East, Sweden Central will pop up, and still in the EU data boundary. So this will save me time, and I will get capacity allocated in another zone, but still in the same region. So I will still keep the EU data boundary. That's important to know for the customers. Again, when it comes to Bing search, this is another topic, because Bing search currently is not available. It's not available. So in EU, unless it's changed this week, but again, this will move data outside of your boundary, and it will move it to other regions. M365 services, this is just to make sure that you know data is moving from your Azure agreement to your M365 customer agreement. So let's say transcripts or other things that needs to be sent to Viva Insights or whatever it is, this will be moved between those two agreements. This is already discussed. Sharing agents, a lot of questions about this usually. How to share agents safely? Usually I recommend sharing with groups and not single users, but it's inevitable that we share with the link here. As you can see, the link is copied and shared with other users. But then if you do have managed environments, in your strategy, you can make sure that you only share with groups, or for some environments, you can share with users. That's important. On the other hand, you also have to choose who can view and who can edit these agents. So the editor gets a lot of rights. They get to view the agent, they can edit the agent, they can even configure the agent, share the agent, and publish the agent, but they cannot delete this agent at all. So that is good. And now, once you share this agent with someone, like Adil in my case, he will get all this. He will get one of these roles that are listed here. I don't know how Microsoft chooses those roles, but one of them will be allocated to them. So it's important to know for the Power Platform admin who has what access. Simple example DLP strategy. This is based on Power Platform DLPs, and of course, as you can see here, you have the most restrictive for any new environment, default environment, and the personal productivity environments, which we discussed as the personal developer environments. They will be the most restrictive here, and they will have their own DLP policy. And the rest, this is totally dependent on the environment strategy you choose, because like the customer I just showed you, they will have the special purpose environment, they will have the central IT DLP, which is their own environment, and then the rest will be dependent on the organizational choices. So how do you enforce this strategy? You do have the personal use agents in the green zone here, and they don't have the ALM process. They just build agents for themselves. This is going to be quite simple to manage, because if you have environment routing, they will be routed to the environment group with all the strict policies. And after that, you don't have to think a lot about it, because they will be managed by the specific policies that you set for the group. And also, they cannot share agents, because this is managed by the managed environment setting. And then for the business-wide agents, or the departmental agents, or the enterprise agents, in the development environment, you need to share with you add the creators with Entra ID groups. So most of my customers have consultants building their agents, like me. I'm one of them building agents. And when we get added to an environment, what I see is each user getting added to the environment, and this also creates a lot of users that have to be managed one by one. But once you have an Entra ID group for the creators, This will make life easier for the admin, and it also follows best practice because you then can connect this Entra ID group to the environment. And these people, the developers, will not publish this agent in dev, so they can test it in the test pane in Copilot Studio. So if you use limited message capacity here, you can save some costs and save some credits. And also you can manage sharing with managed environments or the COE kit. For the test environment, same thing, Entra ID groups. And think more about here you will need a set of people who will test the agent. So they also need to be in this group. And then the capacity, you can use the Copilot Studio cost estimator to see how many messages the agents will probably need. For the production environment, simple, you do IT pushes the agent. So usually pipelines, you just use, if it's a service principal or IT admins who do the process, they have to be the admins. So no developers in here, strict security review before publishing the agent. And if it's being published to entire organization, it has to go through the other admin centers like Teams or M365 admin center. Quickly through the application lifecycle management, we've discussed this already. In the developer environment, use the unmanaged solutions. In the test environment, use the managed solution, small group of people, and the developers can also be in there. And in the production environment, this is closed. No changes happening here. And you have to think about the billing because this will be used by a lot of people. So you have to decide what to do. And that is the next thing. How do we do licensing and monitoring? So this is quite tricky because it seems easy when I show the licensing guide because it's either pay as you go, Copilot credit pack, or the prepaid plan. But Dennis here, he bought the Copilot credit pack. Power Platform admin needs to allocate the credit packs, but also the Power Platform admin needs to understand how they will be doing this for the entire organization, because if it becomes this case by case, this is not scalable. I've seen this happen, and it ends up being a lot of different end users or departments that have different setups for their licensing strategy. So let's look at licensing strategy. This is from the licensing guide from January. And you can see here, you have these three. I already mentioned them. Pay as you go, unlimited, you're paying for what you use, 25,000 Copilot credit packs. And the pre-purchase plan, this is complex. You can check the license guide and see there. So here you have fair usage limit. It used to be unlimited, but now it's fair usage so that we don't misuse the Copilot, the M365 Copilot. And if we look at these two, they are quite the same, except this one here. And here you have the publishing, which you already discussed. You are only allowed to publish to the M365 experience. But what I'm focused on here is not all these same things, is these two aspects here, the Dataverse for Copilot Studio and the managed environments. So if we look at the Dataverse, you get 15 gigabytes of database and 20 gigabytes of file and 2 gigabytes of log. And then the next thing is managed environment. So for the licenses for Copilot Studio, Microsoft sends us to the managed environment licensing details. And in there, it is stated that some features of Copilot Studio are included in managed environments. So you can use Copilot Studio in managed environments for only Copilot Studio related topics and agents and flows. Good. So when it comes to licensing management, who is involved and where does it happen? This is a question that comes up a lot, and it is important to look at this before deciding what your strategy is going to be, because once you buy the Copilot credit pack, you have to share it between the environments, and you have to kind of keep track of what is being used. You can at least set up the alerts and make sure that everyone gets their agent running, even if the Copilot credits are used up, they can get from somewhere else. But getting the license itself, you need to be M365 admin or billing admin, and the Power Platform admin is the one that allocates. And for pay-as-you-go, a little bit more things you have to do. You need either Azure Billing Admin or some billing admin that can create a subscription, a resource group, and set up the Power Platform admin as a contributor to this subscription or resource group. Then they will have access to, because the Power Platform admin has to connect each environment to, or the environment to the specific subscription. And you need a resource group for that too. So they need access to that. And that is important to understand, because if you already have a really well-functioning Azure subscription setup where each department gets their own, they have their own cost centers and that type of setup, I think it's easier to use this, because then you just move the setup from Azure into Copilot Studio, and the departments get their own bills when in their cost centers. On the other hand, if you don't have that, you can use the Copilot credit pack, which is straight from M365 Admin Center, and the Power Platform admin has to set this up. So let's look at monitoring, because this is interesting. Here we have the Purview admin, Marcel, and the Azure admin, Daniel. So I will not spend a lot of time on them, because this is usually for edge cases, because once you have a critical agent, for example, you will need to set up, you will not need, but recommended to set up Azure Application Insights App to see what is going on in the agent on a granular level. And for the Purview admin, they can see the DSPM for AI. So let's take a look at this. Monitoring. For the Power Platform admin, you can see all your agents here. This is great because you can search, and it gets refreshed every 15 minutes, if I remember correctly. You also get your flows. You can see agent flows that are connected to your agents, or not even connected, just agent flows. And yeah, of course, it takes 15 minutes. So this is your go-to as an admin to get to monitor your agents when they are created, the owner, and the flow type, and what environment they live in. The DSPM for AI, as it used to be a standalone solution in Purview. Now it's unified with DSPM, so you have everything in one place. Fantastic, because you have the AI observability there. You can see all your apps and agents. You can see how they are being used, the risk levels, and what risk types have been identified. Even more, you have apps and agents, which gives you an overview of all your Copilot Studio agents, or the top 20 most used usually. And you can see how the users are being prompting it. You can also see the rate of sensitive responses, the adoption rate. Sometimes you can see the most used agents. And you get a lot of good numbers from apps and agents if you're interested in monitoring and getting insights. For the app insights for Copilot Studio, this is a pretty good thing to have, and it's very easy to set up. You just create the app insights in Azure, take the connection string in Copilot advanced settings, put in the string, but this has to be allowed by the DLP policy, which is also important, because this is why I mentioned the critical solutions need this. So the admin has to know where App Insights is going to be used for your agents. This is how some of the output looks. You can see the logged messages, you can see the logged events, and time spent in Copilot. And if you even want custom telemetry, you can go in and write your own custom query language code and get whatever you want to get from the agent, which is, of course, if it's available as insights. Out of the box, you have the agent protection status. This is important to use if there has been any type of misuse, or someone trying to not hack, but prompt inject or misuse the agent. You will see it here. You will see the threat detection, authentication, the policies, and the content moderation. So this is in Copilot Studio in the agents pane. So in there, you will see everything. So let's see here. So in this long Dennis story, Dennis got access to Copilot Studio. He got access to the DLP policies he needed, and the MCP server. This depends on how the organization handles MCP servers. So let's say you have want to run Azure VNet for Copilot Studio, then this makes it impossible for Daniel to run this without having an Azure admin. And also, if he needs models from Foundry, he will most probably need access from them. And also, we have Marcel, who is the Purview admin, that will look into everything that happens in terms of monitoring, in terms of sensitive prompts being sent to agents. And then the Power Platform admin, Dalia, who gets a lot of work because Dalia is going to be the go-to person because Copilot Studio agents live in Power Platform, the DLP policies live there, the environment strategy is created there. But again, you need also the M365 admin, and this admin will be setting up policies. For example, if the user, okay, this is not related to Copilot Studio, but they can set if the user is allowed to use web, but this is for M365 Copilot. And if the organization has policies that says you are not allowed to share with the entire enterprise, then Anne, who is the M365 admin, has to accept this. So what do we see here? To get his agent out to production, Dennis had to go through all these admins, and he needed Dalia for the initial setup. He needed Anne to get the license, procure the license, give him the user license. And if he's going to publish the agent for their entire organization, she has to accept that too. And then we have Marcel, who will be monitoring the agent, will be also checking if there is any type of prompt injection and whatever it is that is breaking the content moderation from Azure. And the Azure admin, who makes sure that everything is well on the, for example, the app registration that gets created in Azure. So this is the discussion I usually have with customers. Is this somehow the initial COE team, Center of Enablement team? Because this team usually sits and needs to work together to make these agents operative. So, and if they don't speak with each other, it becomes a huge blocker for Dennis, who is just trying to gain productivity. He's trying to save time and save money. So this usually ends up with this team being some kind of center of enablement. And if this is not enough, there is a role, AI administrator role. So this role lets users install, it can manage everything with Copilot. So all aspects of M365 Copilot, as you can see here, and sees integrated apps page in M365 Admin Center and can approve and publish a line of business Copilot agents. So technically what you're doing is taking some of the roles that Anne has in terms of publishing agents and installing an app for the users instead of deploying, and giving it to this person. And you also take some of the Azure roles that Daniel has and giving it to the AI administrator role. And you can see Purview is not included, but this role, in my opinion, should have some access to apps and agents in Purview. So this AI administrator role, I don't know if you're using it in your organization. I recommend looking at it. It's a huge part of making this COE, or getting someone who can do this, makes the work load on the COE less, because this person will be taking care of most of the agentic things that happen. So that was it for today. And these are some other relevant resources. If you already have Copilot, not Copilot, Center of Excellence Starter Kit installed, you can do the monitoring from there. Copilot Studio Kit works well, gives you oversight over what agents use authentication, how many are using AI prompts. And then you have the fantastic implementation guide that will help you through all the stages. So you will, if you follow this implementation guide, you will have a lot of foundational governance in place. So with that, I would say thank you. And if there are any questions, I would be able to answer them. And let's connect if you want to. Thank you.
So I'm so impressed. That was a firework video. So
Thank you.
really good. So, but so I have a lot question now.
Okay.
So, I know a lot of, I would say, SMEs or smaller companies have no dedicated purview person, or
Yeah.
always still have not purview in place. So because, for example, I give you an example from Germany. Purview is in the public sector. The public sector love purview, and the regulated sector. But the most companies, for example, manufacturing and so on, still not use purview, and that's why. My question here is the rules could be mixed. I think that's true, but that means it's totally necessary that you work more with his tools and to create a purview instance, because it's not a purview instance, it's still not where if you have not generated. That's a big point here, or?
Yeah. Yes. So purview is one of the things, at least for the middle SMB customers, which small customers that don't have access, usually not included in the licenses and everything. So it becomes more, how much risk are you willing to take with setting up the governance without using most of the purview features? This is possible if you have strict rules on SharePoint and all the other things in place in Power Platform. So yeah, I don't.
It's a role mixture, I think. So
Yeah,
for example, for smaller companies, you have 5 rules in one, or
Yeah,
5 rules, and for bigger companies, you have dedicated rules. So what I saw is this purview rule could be covered on the could be covered one part from a technical guy. And the other part could be the CISO, a security officer, something like that. Because it's like we heard today in the other sessions. It's important to have all on board, and you make this crystal clear. I like your session, so I want to show. I want to see you again next week. So because this was really impressive how you make this, I would say an homework and to do for all companies to start with an agentic framework. So impressive.
Thank you. Really I've been to a lot of different I think I've had 20 plus governance sessions from Microsoft time and now. So I see a lot of, as you said, I go to companies where one person has all the roles. So setting up the governance is chill. It's straightforward because we just decide everything with the person with all the roles. But other companies, the big companies, have people scattered everywhere, and we have to bring them together because Copilot is in everything. So if you're creating it in Power Platform, publishing it in Teams, SharePoint, M365 Copilot, and now it lives in all these places. So how do you make sure it's safe? You have to include everyone, or you hire Chief Copilot Security Officer. So thank you, Marcel.
Yeah, really cool. So I have a second question. So what security model mistakes are most common in early Copilot Studio deployments?
Yeah, well, what I see as the most common ones are giving a lot of, not a lot, but sensitivity labels in SharePoint. So this is back to M365 Copilot. What can M365 Copilot process, and what type of sensitivity? If you have highly confidential, I meet customers that haven't set up this Copilot cannot process highly confidential. So this is where we start discussing, are you sure that you want Copilot to process and you still have the web search on? So this becomes more of what data do you want to be processed by Copilot and on what level? So this I've seen in a lot of customers. And if you're out there listening as a customer, check your settings. Are you is Copilot processing everything, or do you have very specific documents that, if they're highly NDA related projects that you don't want Copilot to process, this can be done in Purview. And this then makes sure that Copilot doesn't process those specific environment sensitivity labels. This is a policy you create. And this is the first thing I see. The second thing, I will give you two. The second thing is connectors in Power Platform, because the connectors, I had a customer call me and ask me, should I use the rules or should I use the DLPs, all the DLP policies or the new rules, because they have managed environments? And my quick answer was, the one that is the most restrictive will be the one that is used. So whatever you do, make sure you have the one that is most restrictive on the environments that needs it. So, and now we have to go back and clean everything because they have so many DLP policies, and also they have the rules in place. So make sure while you are creating the DLP policies, don't end up in this, every new environment gets a new DLP policy thing, because I've seen this when a new project, new DLP, then you will end up with hundreds if you have so many environments. So this is something you have to take care of as admin and governance person in Power Platform and Copilot.
That's why so many companies are afraid of Purview. So they said, oh, we have no one who can define all the rules.
Yeah.
and that's so if you have a strong security officer, so when it works, and he said, yeah, I will define it, but in the most companies they said, oh, okay, our security officer is external, we need to pay if he make decisions. That's why. So I think this is a very interesting topic for a lot of companies regarding to the security and the agents.
Exactly.
We saw this today in an amazing session from here Ragnar Heil too. And so I could only say thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm nearly speechless. Was a really, 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 really good session. So
thank you,
I
Marcel.
really love that. I hope we see us again. So we have an M365 show. If you want to be guest, I want to invite you. I think Bülent Altensoy is a host of it, and we invite you in.
Anytime. Thank you.
So for today,
I will be honored to be part of the show, and thank you for inviting me to this. And for all of you watching, please make sure your agents are safe, and once you have the governance in place, you will scale quite fast. So make sure governance is in place, and then you can have all the fun you will want with MCP servers, whatever you want to build. So thank you, Marcel. And if there is any questions, just reach out. So
it was really crazy regarding to the session before. You deliver the answer in full session from Ragnar. So Ragnar has a great overview what could be the problems, and you said, oh, now here is the solution regarding to the governance. Perfect. So we planned was perfect here.
Wow.
So our next session is Giuliano De Luca with navigating the area of M365 AI agents from Copilot to enterprise scale agent ecosystems. We see us back in nearly 12 minutes. Thank you to you. We see us again. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI. New features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.